Welcome to Washington, Georgia for round number 2 of the AMSOIL Grand National Cross Country Series presented by Specialized, an AMA National Championship. Here we are, I'm Landon Wolf with Alicia McCormick at Aonia Pass Motocross Track. We're looking forward to some good racing. I know last weekend we had Stu Baylor jump out to an early lead, grab a win at round number 1, and it was quite a big deal. It was a big deal, Landon. You were so right. In the second place spot, we had Caleb, and third, we had Thad. It was quite the shakeup. I'm pretty sure they weren't happy with the second and third place, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do this weekend. Yeah, it sure will. I know they weren't too happy. They all wanted that number 1 spot, but it was Stu that came out with it, and it should be for a good day of racing today. As far as XC2 goes, we had Ben Kelly that jumped out to an early lead, came home with the win at round 1. I know a lot of people expected that, and he did exactly that. Johnny Gerard came home with the number 2 spot, and Mike Lukowski in the number 3 spot. In the XC3 class, we had the Jesse Ansley come out on top again. That boy's just killing it in that class. Can't wait to see what he does this weekend. Yeah, absolutely. So it looks like we're going to have a good day of racing here today in Washington, Georgia, especially in that XC1 class. Going to be interesting to see who comes away with the win. But for now, that's it for us, and let's head on down to Bolton for a track description.
Thanks, guys. We're here at the Monster Mile for this week's Yamaha track description, and we've got another great track this week. This section here is going to get really tough. Look how deep it already is. This is like Supercross style loop sections. It's deep, it's going to get deeper as the weekend wears on, and that means there's going to be some really tough racing going on right here on this section of the course. As for the woods, this track is known for some tight woods, but guess what? It's also known for some really wide open sections. I feel like I say this every week, that there's a good mix, but that's part of GNCC racing. We've got fast trails, we've got tight trails, and everything in between. And guess what? There's motocross out on this track too. So this one truly has something for everyone. We took a couple years off from this property and came back last year, and it was super, super popular. And I think that's due in part to the good mix of trails. I keep saying that over and over again, but that's really what keeps people coming back. And this year, we've mixed it up a little bit. We've got some of that same stuff that everybody really loves, but we've also got some new sections. Those new sections are pretty tight, too. I think that's going to make for some great racing. That's this week's Yamaha track description. Back to you guys.
All right, Bolton, thanks for that track description. Looks like we really got a good track out there. Going to make for some really good racing. But that's it for us here. Me and Alicia are out. Let's head on down to Rodney at the starting line.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. You're right. Welcome, everyone, along the web at racertv.com as we have the stage set for a beautiful day. Sunshine bearing down on us and sunshine on this guy's shoulders today. It shined in Florida as well. Talking about Stu Baylor. And, Stu, I tell you what, a great and amazing way to open the season. We've seen you do it before. The big question is, what do you have in store for us today?
You know, it's going to be a tough race. There's a lot of lines out there, a lot of places to make a big, costly mistake. So the biggest thing is nail your lines all day, and I think the most consistent rider on his lines is going to win. I mean, it's you can't over push this track. It's going to change every lap. The ruts have been getting deeper all day. The dirt's just about perfect, but I'm looking forward to it. Very similar to the house, and you know, I'm ready to go racing.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's not the only one. There's 300 other riders on this starting line that are raring and ready just as much as he is. So let's meet our starting lineup for this Specialized General GNCC. He's rolling to the line first after a round 1 win just 1 week ago, riding aboard the number 514. Hailing from Hodges, South Carolina on a Teely Racing Energy-backed KTM, we're talking about Stu Baylor. Rolling to the line second today after round 1, the number 1, a 6-time GNCC champion from Boonville, North Carolina, on an FMF KTM Factory Racing KTM, Caleb Russell. Rolling to the line today, third in points after a round 1 third-place position aboard the number 989 from Williamstown, West Virginia on a Rockstar Energy Factory Husqvarna Racing Husky, Bad Thad Duvall. Finishing fourth after round number one, riding aboard the 739 from Morganton, North Carolina on a Rockstar Energy Factory Racing Husqvarna, Trevor Bollinger. Rolling to the line today, fifth in points, aboard the number 206 from Winsted, Connecticut, the XC1 Pro Class rookie on an FMF KTM Factory Racing machine, Josh Toth. A former GNCC champion 2 times over aboard the number 114. He hails from Australia on a Babbitt's Online Monster Energy Team Green Kawasaki, the Freight Train, Josh Strang. Rolling to the line, seventh today, aboard the number 410 from Birdsboro, Pennsylvania on a Phoenix Racing Honda-backed machine, Andrew DeLong. The 127 from Livingston, Tennessee on a Babbitt's Online Monster Energy Kawasaki, Jordan Ashburn. And rolling to the line next, he rides aboard the number 941, another rookie here after taking a year off from Fort Mill, South Carolina on a Lenovo Racing Kawasaki backed by Stiller Motorsports, the 941 of Chris Vendetti. Up next, the number 24 from Silver Hill, Alabama on an Imagine Moto Romar Marina Max and Construction back Kawasaki, Heath Harrison. And last and certainly not least, he comes to us this week by way of ANFAB and Pro Yamaha as a substitute ride for Ricky Russell, the 121 from Logan, Ohio. On board that ANFAB on that AmPro Yamaha, Corey Buttrick. And that, ladies and gentlemen, your starting lineup for this Specialized General GNCC. As the sun rains down here this afternoon, temperatures now finally climbing into the 60-degree range, and what a beautiful early spring day here in Middle Georgia as we look out over these tall Georgia pines and through this red Georgia clay. The forecast last week, everyone said it was a mud fest. It was a mud hole. There's no way you're going to race in Georgia next week. Well, I'll tell you what, Mother Nature and the good Lord above said differently as he has rained down on us nothing but perfect weather in the last week. We've got perfect racetrack conditions, and we've got perfect temperatures to battle it out for the next 3 hours in this Specialized General GNCC. Who's going to come out on top? The big question, can Stu Baylor back up what he did last week? Will Thad Duvall or Caleb Russell be able to rise to the occasion? Will we have a new player? And what about that XC2 rider that is lurking for a top overall 3 podium? Will he be able to break his way into it this week? We're talking about Ben Kelly. He's gotten on the podium a few times, and he's searching for an overall win. Don't be surprised if history's made here today at Aonia Pass in this Specialized General GNCC as we turn our attention to Ricky Towery, as we like to call him, the maestro, the conductor of ceremonies here in the GNCC Racing Nation. And he has certainly began his tenure there in the turn 1, as he will begin here in just a few moments to inform these riders of the next few moments of racing. And as he looks at his clock, he lets these riders know we have 1 minute before the start of this Specialized General GNCC, folks. Oh yeah, this is the time. The heart's beginning to pound, the eyes beginning to widen as, of course, that energy builds toward the next few moments in the start of this race, trying all at the same time to keep it harnessed, because we know there's 3 hours of grueling racing that lies ahead. As we turn our attention to Ricky up in turn 1, he lets these 300-plus riders on this starting line know, shut them down, shut them down, shut them down, shut them down. It's time to go racing. And as we get set to go here in the red clay of Georgia, I got to ask you, race fans, are you ready to go GNCC racing? Come on now, you can do better than that. We're in the heart of Seacher country down here. This is a Seacher co-sanctioned event, so I'm going to ask you, Georgia, are you ready to go GNCC racing? 10 seconds. And row number 1, the XC1 Pro, will be off and rolling at our Specialized General GNCC. The Wiseco Whole Shot Award, $250 up for grabs. All balls and, of course, our good friends at Wiseco and Josh Strang, the freight train out front, and that one, he goes blowing by me, a green blur. XC2 250 coming up next. Jesse Grom, Ryder Lafferty, Austin Lee, Liam Draper, Philip Cheney, Mike Witkowski, Ben Parsons, Alex Teagar, Nevin Smith, Brewer Colley, JoJo Bowden, Francis Omole, also Tegan Temple, Benjamin Kelly, Joseph Ferrero, Matthew Kiefer, Sam Evans, Zach Hayes, Hunter Neuwirth, Trevor Barrett, Jonathan Grohr, and Jonathan Johnson in 10 seconds. And the XC2 250 off and rolling. They rip into that first turn. Sweeping around now. It's the 282 Beta of Mike Witkowski. Out of North Liberty, Indiana. Beta USA factory ride as we go to the FMF XC3 125 Pro-Am. Joe Marsh, Jason Thomas, Logan Lowry, Michael Beeler, Chase Coble, Jancy Ansley, Talon Sokenson, Jake Froman, Jason Raines, and Cody Barnes, all ready to roll. 10 seconds. Oh, yeah, baby. Here we go, the 111 getting the early lead in this one. That's Jason Thomas from Wales on a Highland Temp Works Off-Road Schools Maxxis back machine. Over to the Open A, we got Zach Tussle, Nick O'Brien, Jack McMakin, Levi Keller, Matt Servin, Dylan Ely, Josh Lee, also James Murphy, Evan Young, Evan Earl, Jeremy Lanthier. 10 seconds. Also Eric Guy, Zach Brown, Devin Pomeroski, George Kowalewski, Gary Greer, Gavin Simone, Justin Leonard, Zachary Hugel, Brady Myers, Dawson Dobson, Cope Becker, also Jason Lipscomb, Mac-Andre Bodwin, Jake Hines, Harrison Helmick, Alex Baroth, and Braden Moore. It is the 210 of Josh Lee from Statesboro, Georgia on a Kawasaki of Statesboro, barely crossing that first stripe first. The 258 class, Simon Johnson, Chase Hayes, Owen Guys, Ryder LeBlanc, Michael DeLosa, Robert Whitlock, Blaine Kimmery, Dylan Dela Cruz, Brody Johnson, Matthew Davis, Benjamin Wright, Bolton Baroth, Devin Welch, Jonathan McDougall, Brian DeSalt, Brendan Poling. 10 seconds. Trevor Getz, Jacob Kentz, Jonah Faulkner, Hayden Earhart, Tyler Braniff, R.J. Cook, Josh Farrell, John Day, Cole Whitmer, Nicholas Cordana, Ryan Quinn, John Lee Campbell, Andrew Gross, Jackson Waits, Tristan Landrum, Bryce Coster, Michael Bloom, and Jaron Williams, all in this line of the 258 class. It's 6-3-7. That is Andrew Gross from Hancock, New York on a WER Dunlop tire spec machine. Is also our featured rider on Racer TV, amateur rider today, so we'll get to know that a little bit more about that young man. 4-stroke A lights bike getting ready to roll. Jacob Crispin, Gatlin Welburn, Tyler Soriano, Travis Renaud, Justin Murphy, Eli Childers, Blake Grindstaff, Adam Hollenkamp, Hunter Williams, Matthew Kerrigan, Russell Smith, Alex Luger, Hayden Dillon. 10 seconds. Johnny Manera, Aiden Pogson, Nathan Rector, Grady Faint, Derek Mabe, Ian Flynn, Nick Haynes, Trevor Maley, Trail Henderson, Dalton Seals, Mitchell Owenby, Tanner Powers, Nathan Davis, Dylan Carano, Ty England, Frederick Bluen, Noah Stewart, Jake Easler, Mac Reimer, and Gabriel Potvin. 597, I believe that was Martin Ferries, Ohio's Noah Stewart on a Stewart Motorsports Alco Barnes Brothers back machine. 200A class coming up next. Sean Myers, Tyler Centrino, Zach Davidson, Dominic Morris, Austin McCoy, Rylan Frankfurt, Logan Kiddick, Max Fernandez, Chase Goslin, Elliott Key, and Dylan Zempel. 10 seconds. Zach Davidson, the 199, a good pull off the line. Let's see if he can carry it all the way. Past the hole shot stripe into turn 2. Zach Davidson, your early leader on his Husqvarna USA Dunlop Fly and Chad Davis Racing Machine. Junior AB 25 plus class coming up next. Andrew Boggs, Dustin Ulrich, Jesse Kildo, Andrew Matuzik, Matt Bruffy, Bailey Parker, Tyler Brunton, Landon Smith. 10 seconds. Joshua Munsman, Joseph McCarty, Keith Holtzclaw, Wiley Brownell, Curtis Lucas, Joe Dean, and Sammy Doris. Junior AB rounding that first turn. It is the 708 of Kurt Lucas from Miami, Florida on his KTM. Around next, the Vet A, Sam Forrester, Louis O'Leon, Jared Hoffman, James Fawcett, Chris Dufrenzy, Jesse Arsenal. 10 seconds. Rick Malise, Surly Moncio, Trevor Lyons, Daniel Clark, Luenzo Sanchez, also Aaron Farr, BJ Bariska, Buddy Barnes, Joshua Wyatt, Brandon Peterson, Graham Meadis, Steve Lambrino, Matt Modic, Bills of India, Nick Cafaso. 21 riders in this one. Oh, was that the 048? Sam Forrester sneaking that one right by at the last second out of Elkton, Maryland on a Cherry Hill Cycle KTM. Senior A40 plus class, 15 riders in this, and Frank Messina, Shotgun, Sean Remington, Devin Ferguson, Frank Tussle, John Beaver, Gregory Richardson, also Bob Bergman, Josh Hackett, Ken Anderson. 10 seconds. Ivan Benga, Bo Hamlet, Odair Silva, Larry Silva, Jason Crawford, and Jason Stickley. All right, here we go. Around the first turn now. 720. Larry Sylvia from Monticello, Georgia on a V3 off-road cycle specialty fly racing machine. 4-stroke B lights coming up next. 10 seconds. TJ Fine, Alexander Patterson, Wyatt Kiesler, Ryan Piper, Logan Hughes, Corey Mahalik, Brett Adams, Andrew Panada, Mike Howerton, Hunter Cleveland, Tyler Daniels, Tyler Palmer, Ethan Schultz, Daniel Reddick, and Cole Henderson. All righty. Ooh, a lot of position jockeying and some changes. 232. Alexander Patterson out of Cambridge, Ohio on his Husky taking the lead on that one. 250B class, we got Gink Orbster, Austin Hovhatter, Ryan Tucker, Philip Daganese, Zachary Rohr, Landon Ray, Austin Kimsey, James McElvain, Joshua Winker. 10 seconds. Alan Nolting, also Justin Moulton, Ty Calloway, Dylan Gore, Benjamin Bluon, Bradley Chapman, Gatlin Combs, Jesse Groves, Jake Lale, Jared Borges, Joseph Cummings, and George Snoofer. Something like that. Here we go. 3, 4, 3. That's the number. And that is Landon Ray from Newton, North Carolina on the Kenda Tires O'Neill Racing Scott Goggles back machine. 200B class, Max Rust, Trent Gaither, Randy Smith, Gino Benacchi, Tanner Collins, Colby Dunham, Nolan Osteen, Noah Haynes, Patrick Murray, and Ezra Judd in 10 seconds. I do love those two strokes. 400 on the helmet. That is Gino Benacchi from on a LoJack's Moose Racing Micah Yamaha out of West Mifflin, Pennsylvania. 10 seconds. That be 30+ Larry Hopper, Ross Kennedy, McCoy Gomez, Gene Coskerta, Nathan Weymouth, also Robert Johnson, Rodrigo Damas, RJ Livesey, Gary Bassane, Kyle Madison, Michael Swartz, Sam Bishop, Ernie Martin, Christopher Wagner, Nathan Taylor, David Murray, Drew Gorn, also Robert Creel and Jose Ramios. That's 402 out front, and that is Kyle Madison from Troy, Pennsylvania on the KTM. And let's see, we got Open B bikes coming up next. Matt Sorge, Jacob Harmon, Thomas Thompson, Peyton Hartman, Matthew Winstadt, Steve Gold, Justin Gibbs. 10 seconds. John Medeiros, Giodine Friadas, also Brandon Boyers, Rodrigo Oliveira, Brendan Bishop, Andrew Hollenkamp, Jack Bryant, Jesse Fulmer, Craig Oberholzer, Colton Hawk, Daniel Bernier, Igor Simon, Michael Modick, Jared Messer, Dustin Stanley, Joshua Webb, and Drew Norris. I don't know if that was 222 or 223. Peyton Harden or Matthew Wisnet taking the lead in that one as we go to our senior class next. The Senior B 40+, Gene Swidwa. Also Wes Morris, Leon Whitaker, Adam Miller, Igor Soares. 10 seconds. Shane Lenning, Mike Horwat, Jason Wilson, Jeff Galbraith, and Scott Matheny. Well, here we go, our final class around the turn, the Senior B. That is the, is that 139, I think, of Wes Morris from Fraser's Bottom, West Virginia on an AOMC Biggie Smalls racing back machine. And a quick check of the start line. It appears that all of our machines are now off and rolling, if I'm not mistaken. And, of course, we've got a race on. Over 300 riders out here on this racetrack this afternoon. And, of course, round two, just 1 week after round one in the sands of Florida. It's going to be a demanding one. There's no doubt about it. Can Stu Baylor make it happen again today? What's going to happen with the rest of the field? Let's see how it all plays out. Stick around. GNCC Live continues right after this.
I'm Stu Baylor. You're watching GNCC Live.
Consistent clutch feel is vital to effective starts, or to confidently maneuver around obstacles on the trail. AMSOIL synthetic dirt bike oil was subjected to an extreme simulated start test. After 32 simulated race starts, AMSOIL synthetic dirt bike oil continued to deliver consistent clutch feel, and the clutch plates remained clean with no visible wear. The competitor's oil, however, allowed discoloration and significant wear after just 16 starts. AMSOIL synthetic dirt bike oil. Give your bike the protection it needs.
Spanning over 3 decades, one name has taken the lead for supplying the best powersport parts, accessories, and apparel to fuel your passion. One name that knows it goes beyond getting you the best prices, quickest shipping, or largest selection. One name that builds and innovates for our industry. One name that teaches, helps, and supports our fellow riders, racers, and organizations. We are Rocky Mountain ATVMC. Visit us today and experience the best in OEM and aftermarket parts, accessories, apparel, and industry-leading information. Get free shipping on orders over $75, free apparel exchanges both ways, and the best customer service. Experience one name that leads all others. Rocky Mountain ATVMC. Get ready.
Speed has its price. Fortunately, it's super affordable. The Specialized Speed into Spring Sale with up to 40% off March 15th through 31st. The faster you visit your local Specialized dealer, the faster you ride. The all-new Yamaha Wolverine X2. with a compact chassis perfect for exploring tight technical terrain. An ultra-quiet and smooth 850 class twin-cylinder engine. And next-level versatility with a 600-pound dumping cargo bed. No other side-by-side delivers this level of proven off-road performance. The all-new Wolverine X2 from Yamaha.
This Racer TV broadcast is brought to you by AMSOIL, the first in synthetics. Specialized Turbo e-bikes, it's you, only faster. And by Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Get ready.
Want to welcome everyone to Racer TV. We are here at Aonia Pass, Georgia, for the AMSOIL GNCC, this Specialized General GNCC. Looks like we're picking up the coverage here at the Monster Mile on lap 1. Looks like a perfect track conditions today, so everybody looks like the amateur riders are making their way through there, and when we get a glimpse of the XC1 and XC2 guys, we'll have an update for you. All right, we're going to go to the track map here. So we've got a, let's see here. Looks to be about a 12.5 mile track today. We've got about 5 camera spots. The little highlighted areas with the brighter lights is where the cameras will be for you today. And then we've got the special areas, the Monster Mile. Obviously, we'll be going through the pro pits. There's let's see here, FMF PowerPoint, and yeah, we should be rocking and rolling out there. 12.5 miles of brutal race conditions. All right, we're here at the 7.5 mile marker. Looks like Caleb Russell out front. Looks like Josh Strang right behind him. I believe it's Stu running third there. He's got the opposite colored number plate, so he'll be easy to spot today. Missed a couple of the guys there. Looks like Corey Buttrick coming through on the Yamaha right now. Looks like a nice tight race. Nobody's breaking away from the pack early, so should have a lot of action today. All right, yeah, I was going to say, last week Stu kind of ran away with it. It was pretty incredible first round. No one really had him on their card to win, so him taking off like that and showing everybody how it was done in Florida. We'll see if he can pull it off again today. Here comes, looks like Christopher Venditti through the first 1.5 mile mark there, 7.5 mile mark there. I apologize. Yeah, Stu though, he put on a clinic. There was nobody expecting it. It was pretty incredible. Here come the XC2 guys, should be showing up any time now. Looks like here they are coming on screen right now. Looks like Ben Kelly with the early lead here. Looks like he's already got a bit of a lead. Wait to see the next guy come through here. Oh, can't tell who it was. Looked to be a KTM, maybe Johnny Gerard, and it looked to be a white bike, a Husky in third. Assuming that would have been DeLong. See, I can't tell who that one is there. Say, Ben Kelly last week, he took off from the XC2 line and rode away. I kind of got accused of being too much on Team Ben and didn't talk enough about Johnny. So hopefully Johnny can put her up there close with him today and put on a battle so we can talk about both of them. Austin Lee on the 1-2-3 Phoenix Racing Honda coming through there. Looked to be about 5th or 6th place. You know, I didn't see Mike Wachowski come through. He pulled the whole shot in that class. That probably was who was in third on the white bike. I figure that now, but let's see here. Somebody's stopping for something. Couple Cowie guys. There's an XC1 Cowie guy. Going to go to the starts now. Do some replays of the first 3 rows here. We got the XC1 start coming right now. Say everybody took off good. Looked like Thad got an early jump on everybody, kind of pushed it wide in the corner. Josh Strang took the lead there and got the whole shot. XC2 coming up now. It looks like waiting on the 10-second. There we go. I believe Ben Kelly takes off here from everybody, and then Wachowski actually comes through, steals it from him, and he ends up taking the lead into the second turn there. And be XC3 next, the 125. That's always an interesting one to watch. Yep, XC3. Coming up now, we've got Jesse Ansley looking over to the side, checking everybody. Looks like he's got it covered there, but then looks like Jason Thomas comes through and steals it from him too. So it looked like all the guys that got the early jumps really didn't come to the second turn with the actual hole shot. So definitely interesting first turn there. So we're showing the Monster Mile right now. It's a bit of a different section than some of the normal Monster Miles. A lot of times they'll have the Monster Mile a hill climb or some mud and stuff. Here at the General, we have, it's almost like highway construction zone. It's all just rock piles and dirt piles, and it's kind of wild to watch. I remember last year going through it. It was pretty wild, just not something normally we would ride on. So it was pretty cool to see, and this year it looks a little bit faster than it did, but I think it's going to be a pretty cool thing to watch today for sure. Should be coming through with an update any time now. Keep you updated on the XC1 class here. Perfect. We will be doing a little bit of a coverage thing with Caleb Russell here momentarily. So just talking about him leading the championship last year, winning everything, and kind of taking over he's kind of battled everyone and took over for the last 5 or 6 years. So be curious to see if Stu or someone can knock him off his post. But as far as right now, he's still the man.
Round one was tough. I knew it was going to be it was really hot, and yeah, that track can be brutal. But I was pretty happy with the result. The performance I felt was lacking a little bit in some areas, but you know, that's racing. You can't bring your A game to every race. It's really hard. But yeah, it was like I said, it was a good day. Didn't dig myself in a terrible hole. I got second. Can't complain too much about it, and you know, we're healthy and moving on to round two. And thankfully it's dried out up here. You know, there's talks about being a swamp, but the track conditions look really good, and excited to get going.
All right, folks, and we're back here at the Specialized GNCC at the Aonia Pass facility. Here we see some, it looks like some of our amateur classes working our way by. DQ bringing us in. Looks like it was a feverish start to the race here with the early jump by Josh Strang out front. Looked like it was Josh Strang, Caleb Russell, and DQ. I don't know, have we seen an update on our leaders since the start?
We had him at the 7.5. XC1 was a really tight battle. Caleb was right there, Strang right on him. I mean, it was not a gap. It was right here at this part of the track, right here at the 7.5, and the whole top 10 was right together. So definitely looks like a good battle.
This track looks as though it's really shaping up perfectly for racing. As has already been discussed, you know, a lot of people were talking about coming into this weekend how wet it was going to be, the conditions. You know, there was rumors of all kinds of crazy stuff. And as we can see on screen here, folks, the conditions are absolutely epic for the Specialized GNCC here today at Aonia Pass MX facility. And you really couldn't ask for better dirt. Being out there this morning, watching the morning race, you know, it's dirt that just kind of clumps up in your hands. And a lot of our XC1 riders like to call it coffee grounds. You can see it just kind of perfectly, you know, it forms. There's great traction, but fear not, folks. There's plenty of challenges out there. The ground is soft down in the bottoms. It always is here, and it becomes very ruddy, very technical, and this is a track that is absolutely going to physically wear on all of these riders. We're watching some of our amateur classes come through here. We will next see our XC1 riders here within the next couple minutes, and we'll get an update on exactly how that battle is shaping up. We know when we last saw it was Caleb Russell out front. Josh Strang close behind, and the top 4, when they left the start, were literally wheel to wheel, and it appears that now it's the top 10 are wheel to wheel to wheel to wheel, and we'll just keep saying wheel until we get all the way out to the top 10.
Well, I'll tell you, it's a far cry different, I think, than what we were seeing last week. We saw those guys kind of stretch out, maybe not so early in the race, but we certainly saw that happen last week and saw those big gaps start to develop. So we might have a little bit tighter situation starting to unfold here today. A lot different conditions than what we were faced with yesterday or last week. Johnny, you raced yesterday, and you know, coming from that sand to this clay, it was a big, big switch.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was kind of the same thing on ATVs yesterday. Obviously, in Florida, things got strung out. There was big gaps between riders, and yesterday it was really a battle pretty much the whole time. There was a whole group that was together, and I think that attributes itself to a lot of different things there. We see Andrew Matusik, one of, I believe, our Vet A riders, on screen. And, you know, you could attribute to a lot of things, but not the least of which is the fact that these guys have all had 7 days now to think about Florida. And, you know, there's really only one guy that left there very happy, and that was Stu Baylor. The rest of these guys all wanted more, even if they say they're pleased, if they're content, whatever. You know, these guys want to be up front. They want to be battling for a win. And Stu Baylor put it on these boys.
Yeah,
so now these guys are all geared up and ready to roll.
Yeah, plain and simple. I mean, and we say that, and we say it with a great deal of respect. And even talking with Caleb, that's exactly what they say. They said they just had nothing for him. He was on a different level, riding on a different plane. And like they said, you know, they were riding as good as they could. They thought they both put in great days. It was just that Stu, like on that day and certain days, can just rise to that occasion. Can he do it 2 races in a row? That's a big question. I was talking with Stu just a little earlier. He told me that he actually, we know that he came in with an injured knee last week, and a lot of people were surprised that he performed as well as he did in those conditions. But he said, you know, the knee was doing great, and then he was doing some suspension testing earlier in midweek and had an issue with that.
And here we see our leaders on screen. Looked like it was Caleb Russell leading the way. I believe it was Stu Baylor in second, Thad Duvall third. Looks like Strang in fourth, Andrew DeLong fifth. That's Josh Toth in sixth. That is Corey Buttrick there on the 121 Ampro Yamaha there in seventh. So there's your top 7 all right together as they come by. That is leaving the mulch pile. I don't recall the mile markers, although I've been around that track plenty of times at this point. But basically, they are coming to the finish. We will see them here at the finish in less than a minute, checking in with 1 lap complete. So there we see, looks like we're waiting. And, you know, DQ, you had said it was the top 10. Looks like that was about 6, maybe 7 there. I might have missed one because we had a little glitch in the screen. But somebody's falling off the tail end of the back here, and that's showing the pace is being pushed early.
Yeah, and I was going to say I'm kind of curious what happened to them. They were all right together, and I know the XC2 guys will be coming here soon, so just have to see what happened there.
And when we talk about XC2, we can't talk about any other than the 530 machine of Ben Kelly. And there he is, the number one machine of Ben Kelly. And that is Christopher Vendetti behind him. That is an XC1 rider who has been dropped back into the XC2 already here on lap 1. So no challengers at the moment. And let's see who that is. That is another. No, that is
That's
Jonathan
XC2.
Girard. The 969 machine, the Trail Jesters KTM, actually a teammate of Ben Kelly. And he was our second place finisher just 7 days ago in Florida and now running second early. So, man, he is really pinning it to keep up with Ben Kelly because we know how fast Ben Kelly goes early.
Interesting story about Chris Venditti, by the way. He tried his hand at the FMF XC3 a couple of years ago. He had some issues and injury, and he actually sat out all of last year. He said he got a real job and had pretty much written off the fact that of racing ever again. Got a call from Lenovo Kawasaki Racing. They said they wanted him back, and he said, you know what? I can do this. And he's back out here with us again. Good to see him back out.
Well, good to see another green bike out here, and there we did see the next 3 riders in our XC2 class, and I believe that was Evan Smith that was there in the 5th place spot. The 4th place spot was Tegan Temple, and the 3rd place spot was Mike Witkowski on that 282 Beta. So there are your top 5 in XC2 that have come by, and I believe, as we saw on screen, it looks like your top 8 in XC1 have worked their way by our camera. Now we're back to our shot here at the 7-mile marker, and this is some more amateur riders. Looking on VP Fuels Pro Row. Caleb Russell out front.
Bollinger.
Bollinger.
Wow.
Hot on his heels. Stu Baylor in 3rd. Thad Duvall 4th.
Strang,
5th.
Ashburn,
DeLong, Toth, and Buttrick.
Wow.
So that's actually 8 riders.
Wow. That's something we haven't seen in a while.
a long time.
rolling through that pro pits, all nose to tail, wheel to wheel to wheel to wheel to wheel, as we were saying there a few moments ago. No exaggeration whatsoever on that. Folks, I think they're heading to the moto track next and then to the finish line. So I think we're about ready to see some pretty cool stuff out there. And if you're on the moto track watching this one, you're going to witness, I think, a pretty good battle taking place. Looks like some more of our XC2 riders checking in with us there as we roll through this one now, and we're waiting to pick these guys up out here near the moto track and see how things are going as we roll toward the finish line here.
There is Ben Parsons, the 300 Coastal Racing Husqvarna, the number 24 Kawasaki. There is our XC2 leader working his way through.
Yep.
VP Fuels Pro Row. That is Ben Kelly. Looks like he might be starting to pull out just a little bit on the 969 of Jonathan Gerard. Gerard was a little closer to him in the mulch pile at the FMF PowerPoint just about 2 minutes ago. Ben Kelly starting to pour the coal to it, stretching it out on Gerard.
Keeping an eye on the action here near the 11-mile marker now, and this is pushing close to the end of the lap, as Johnny Gallagher had pointed out, and we'll be seeing our leaders checking in finish line. Right now we're I've got some 25 minutes or so into this race, I believe, if I'm calculating this right, and the computer and scoring is working properly. And that's about on target. We're looking for those close to 30-minute marks there, and I think that might be what we can expect here. Again, 27, 28-minute lap times. We'll see as time wears on as soon as these guys check in.
Yeah, we momentarily had a shot of our VP Fuels Pro Row there. Looks like they might be having some struggles with that camera, so we're back over to the FMF PowerPoint again at the 11-mile marker. So these guys now should be checking in if they have not already. They have to be checking in. We may have a possibly. There was Jesse Ansley.
That was Ansley, yeah.
One of our XC3 Pro-Am riders. Looks like possibly another. That was a little two-stroke pipe there, DQ, your former class. So
oh, yeah.
Got some more of our XC3 guys going by. And what a fun class that is. Great addition to GNCC Racing.
Best idea they've had in years.
You know, for those guys to have the Tiddler bikes out there and oftentimes get well up into the top 20 overall. Here we see the leaders on screen. They have checked in with 1 lap complete. We missed them in timing and scoring. It's not showing up on the live feed. Caleb Russell is out front. Now he's at the monster mile marker. This is all the way out about the 2-mile marker. So they've checked in long ago. Caleb Russell leading the way. Trevor Bollinger giving him all he can handle in that second-place spot. Bollinger to the inside, really putting the pressure on the back of Russell, not going to let him get away. Here we see the rest of our top 8 filing their way through. Looks like now Bollinger and Russell have pulled out just a little bit there. Baylor still in that third-place spot. Duvall in 4th. It looks like now Ashburn possibly worked his way around Strang. Then we have DeLong, Josh Toth, and again Corey Buttrick, the 121 Ampro Yamaha. Look at that DQ. Those guys basically 3rd on back to 8th still are just about wheel to wheel. Nothing separating, nothing in it. But the top 2 of Caleb Russell and Trevor Bollinger are starting to pull out a little bit.
Yeah, that small breakaway. We'll be curious if the other guys can reel them back in or if they just keep pulling away. It'll be interesting to see the next shot. I believe it'll be the 7.5-mile marker, so we probably got about 5 minutes. But here we go. We got XC2 coming into the Monster Mile. Hey, he's catching up. He's making an overall run again, it looks like.
Yeah,
so
we're going to have to. What do you think? Pretty soon we're going to have to get the stopwatches out, folks. Ben Kelly is going to make this year interesting. Coming from that second row in that XC2 Pro Lights class, he is known to just chip away at the gap on those XC1 guys. And physically, it's not uncommon for him to get up physically into the top 3 or top 5 towards the end of the season.
He has that whole section as a lead. There goes Johnny Gerard right there in second. Still somewhat, I wouldn't say in sight, but he could see him popping out of the section and in the section. So he's still got some view to where he can have a drive from for sure.
Absolutely. In the longer sections of this race course, Johnny Gerard still can see Ben Kelly, and you know he's going to stay hard on the throttle, trying to do everything that he can do to manage that gap. Starting off the season a week ago in that second-place position, a great solid starting spot for Johnny, but you know he wants to be up there battling for the win. How about this battle for 3rd? Now it is Tegan Temple who's taken over the 3rd spot. Evan Smith up to 4th, and Mike Witkowski still very much there in the battle on that 282 factory beta machine. These guys are absolutely giving it everything, and they do not want to let those top 2 get away, but at the moment, doesn't seem there's much they can do about it. They're pushing their own battle, but the top 2 are stretching it out just a little bit in that XC2 Pro Lights class. have been on top of the world, and the next thing you know, just moments later, they're seeming on their way out. Oh, here we see now Evan Smith, one of our XC2 guys, working his way by. Looks like now he has taken over that third place spot. Tegan Temple back to 4th, and Mike Wachowski 5th. So there is 3, 4, 5 in that XC2 Pro Lights class. The next rider we saw last time was the 123 Phoenix Racing Honda of Austin Lee. Will he still be hanging on to that 6th place spot? Now we're out on the Aonia Pass Motocross facility, a beautiful motocross track here that hosts regional and national events, has for many years. They've got this thing prepped up and ready to rip this weekend. They tilled it deep. It was soft for us yesterday. It got rough, but man, it offers great passing opportunities and a chance for these guys to try their hand at a little bit of motocross.
And look at that. You can tell the early spring grass starting to grow in between the track. This place is going to be beautiful in about a month. I mean, whenever you come back here.
Most definitely.
While we wait for our leaders on screen, Rodney, just to finish out that thought on the suspension, we've talked about how they can go down the wormhole to the bad, but we've also seen riders that seeming to be, right on the cusp of greatness, as you like to say, and it's just that one setting, as they say, or that one bar adjustment, or they flip their triple clamps, or, they find a new tire, or whatever it may be. And when we talk about perception, when we talk about how much of it is in the rider's head, DQ, you said you knew the riders were going to be mad when you say this, but I'm not defending the riders, but isn't perception reality if it produces results?
If it produces results, you're exactly right,
If
Johnny.
it's only perception, if there's no reality to anything that they're thinking, yet it produces results, doesn't it become reality?
That's a very good point. And likely, and they have made changes, so obviously.
Oh, it was a definite change.
So, yeah, you're absolutely 100% right. But like I said, the flip side of that, though, I think oftentimes when they're right, it's the whole opposite. When they start complaining about suspension, that's when they're on their way out. It's over for them.
Rodney, you nailed that perfectly. We've seen so many riders that will just chase suspension, and mentioning it in one race and saying they found a new setting means nothing in the grand scheme of things. When they start, like you said, hit the nail on the head. When they start talking about it time and time and time again, that's kind of the wormhole nobody wants to go down.
Yeah, that's for sure. And, one guy knows a whole lot about that, seen some riders go down that wormhole, has pulled them out of that wormhole, is the mechanic that's been around GNCC Racing for a long time. He comes back to us now through the Team Green Kawasaki, the Babbitt's Online Monster Energy team, and, of course, welcoming back Joey Maurer, who is our Mechanic of the Week this week.
Hi, this is Joe Maurer here with the Monster Babbitt's Kawasaki team. I've been a mechanic pretty much my whole life. I used to race and then, like everybody, quits racing and starts working on bikes. Did the motocross, supercross scene for a while. Fred Andrews being my brother-in-law, I started working on his bikes and got into off-road. Did this, like I said, did the motocross, supercross stuff for a little bit. Worked at Suzuki, worked at Pro Circuit. Pretty much did the normal routine like everybody does, but being from back east, I wanted to come back and working off-road, just more family-oriented, more friendly, just my kind of scene. Last year, Fred and I had a gas team, which was it's kind of a newer manufacturer compared to everybody else. And then Cali decided they wanted to get back into off-road racing, so they contacted us and contacted Babbitt's, obviously, and kind of we all worked it out together and hired me on as Josh Strang's mechanic, and then Fred is running the team, and then we hired another guy for Jordan, and then we got Denny Bartz, which is the overall team guy. So that's how it all kind of stepped in, and Cali's pushing to get back into it. The difference between off-road and motocross or supercross. Obviously, we ride in the woods, we ride in the mud, roots, rocks. The supercross guys, if it's a normal race, it's indoors, it's dry. Their bikes doesn't go through what ours do. So as far as building one compared to the other, we kind of build them the same, to be honest. It's just ours get more destroyed. Our parts are completely ruined at the end of a race, where some of their stuff is just getting changed just because of time. It probably looks fine, doesn't show any wear, but it still wears, but our stuff is gone. I mean, we destroy wheels, sprockets bend, disc wear out, so it's the same work, it's just a little bit different. The off-road stuff just gets destroyed. It's a little more wear and tear for sure. I mean, we do a 3-hour race compared to a supercross, it's 20 plus 2, so the bikes get a lot more destroyed.
Read the screen, Johnny. Mile 2, he was definitely much closer. Than
Right. Yeah, he was within striking distance of the overall at that
We're
point.
going to have to speculate on this because I didn't actually get to see the start, and I don't know if we saw those guys on screen on the first lap or not, but I don't think Ben Kelly would have been out front at the very beginning, judging by the pace. Look at this. Speaking of out front, the 739 Rockstar Racing Husqvarna, Trevor Bollinger out front, Caleb Russell tucking it up the inside, trying to make a run at him. But there we go. New leader, folks. Trevor Bollinger out front.
Well, here we go. The challenges are coming. Trevor Bollinger feeling the, the support that he's got. I mean, he's always had great support, but everything just keeps getting better, and he keeps climbing, and his confidence just keeps building. There is the 114 of Josh Strang just outside that battle now. That's starting to stretch out a little bit. Those top 2, 3 are starting to stretch out from the rest of the field.
And in the third place spot was Thad Duvall. Fourth place was Stu Baylor, and then fifth, Josh Strang. So that is your top 5. We just saw Toth. Looked like we did see Buttrick, I believe, go by there. And then also Andrew DeLong. So Andrew DeLong running solid. Oh, there's Buttrick there. Now. We didn't see Buttrick yet, but he is still there in that 8th place spot, I do believe. And Andrew DeLong there on that 410 Phoenix Racing Honda, riding very well. Looked like he was in that 6th place spot and actually looked like he was charging. I think he might have been trying to bridge that gap to get to the top 5.
That's not something I expect out of him this year either. They said he was going to be riding on this Honda team. It was like the top secret Honda team. And there's Ben Kelly right there.
Here's your answer, folks. That has not been a minute since we saw some of our tail end of our top 5 come by. Ben Kelly now not just chipping into that lead. He is taking bunches and bunches out of that time.
I wonder if he's trying to start slower to have more at the end to actually make a run for it. Because it seems like he's always up there, and then drops off towards the end. So
in talking with Ben after Florida, it wasn't really an energy issue of him dropping off. He had one really bad lap that set him back. He was up there. He was leading the overall. He was physically well up into the top guys in XC1. He had one bad lap where he said he crashed twice, got stuck. He said the wheels literally came completely off the bus, and then he reset. If you look at the lap times, he was back running as faster lap times than the leaders the rest of the race. That one lap set him back just enough that it kept him from being in the battle for that top 3 overall.
That's crazy, and this kid is just phenomenal. There's no doubt about that. So going to be keeping an eye on him through. Well, we watched him last year. We'll be keeping an eye on him throughout this year. It won't surprise me to see him center the Bosch before this year is over, more than once, actually.
Here we see 2nd place in that XC2 Pro Lights class, 3rd and 4th, and it is still 2nd place of Evan Smith, 3rd place of Tegan Temple, and 4th place of Mike Witkowski. Those 3 still all just wheel to wheel to wheel. Here we see the 941 Lenovo Kawasaki of Christopher Vendetti trying to latch on to some of those XC2 guys to minimize damage
He's been with them for almost a lap now, so he's found his group, and he's riding with them. That's awesome.
How about this XC2 class, though? I mean, there's a lot of variety in this and a lot of depth of talent, I think, in this field, seeing these names all shuffle around at the front of the pack. I mean, it seems a little different, except for Mike Witkowski always seeming to be one of the strong runners up there, that's for sure.
You know, another rider we need to give a shout-out to is Tegan Temple. Here's a rider that just 2 years ago was up, battling for some top amateurs and then came to XC2 with a little bit of hype. He was thought to be maybe potentially a top 5 or at least a top 10 guy. Really struggled through the 2017 season, I believe it would have been. And then last year we almost didn't see him at all. He had retired from racing essentially as the 1-2-3 of Austin Lee there on screen is our 6th place rider in that XC2 Pro Lights class. But I'll tell you what, guys, Austin Lee is losing ground, and he's losing it fast.
Losing it real fast.
Yeah, he's
the last time we saw him there less than a half a lap ago.
Whenever they came through the finish line, he was about 25 seconds behind Evan Smith outside the top 5. Had about a 12-second lead over Ryder Lafferty, but Lafferty seems to maybe be just a smidge closer now than what he was.
Yeah, Lafferty charging hard. I didn't recognize Lafferty, the number 44 machine, used to that 336 number he ran for so long. Liam Draper, this is a rider I would have expected to see a little bit further up here early in this race. Don't know if a bad start got the best of him. And then it is Jonathan Johnson next, and followed by
Zach Hayes.
Zach Hayes, the 722.
Well, here's something to point out. Liam Draper up from 10th now and to that 8th place position, so he gets around Johnson and both Hayes. So it looks like Liam is starting to make some gains now.
Yeah, and, this class, as you pointed out, new names, new faces, but always intense racing action. Tegan Temple, he's a rider, as we were talking about there a moment ago, that had pretty much, like you had said with Chris Vendetti, had kind of given up on the idea of racing, had gone to start and work a full-time job, and then next thing you know, he has the opportunity. He comes back out here and absolutely killing it in a fourth-place position at the moment, but very much within striking distance of a top 3. Jesse Grom, a rider who's been a journeyman, known as an enduro rider for many years, has been really doing well at GNCCs this year, back after a year in that XC1 Pro class, back into that XC2 Pro Lights class. And, you know, he's trying his best to kind of get his legs under him. I know he spent most of his time up in the New Jersey area over the winter. Oh, look at this.
Yeah, Ben Parsons and then Champ Train.
The Champ Train. And the second place. So there is your top 2 in that XC3 Pro-Am class. That was the 111 of Jason Thomas and then the 99 of Cody Barnes. There are your top 2. Brewer Cawley there, another one of our XC2 riders. And I think maybe we should be seeing Jesse Ansley here. We thought, oh no, as DQ pointed out a moment ago, Jesse Ansley returned to his pits as they came through VP Fuels Pro Row. So don't know what the setback was, don't know exactly what it was that he was doing, but he was a ways back, and he's got some ground to make up if he wants to have any chance of repeating that win that he had just a week ago in Florida. Now we see some of our other riders. That I believe Philip Cheney, 717 is, I believe that was
Sam Evans.
Sam Evans, that's what I thought that was there. And then JoJo Bowden on the 444 machine. Again, some more of our XC2 riders working their way past that XC2 Pro Lights class. And that's a nice Hawaiian shirt there on Hunter Neuwirth. Trevor Barrett there on the 945 machine. I believe that was Matthew Kiefer on the 570 machine out of Monroe Township, Pennsylvania. Here we go, out on the Aonia Pass motocross facility. Trevor Bollinger leading the way and hard on the throttle. Trevor is really starting to actually pull a little bit of a gap on Caleb Russell. Russell there in the second place spot on that FMF KTM. Boy, Bollinger looks good, DQ.
He looks really good.
He really looks comfortable, and what I'm surprised to see is it does not look as though Thad Duvall has been able to close up any on that lead duo. Not that he's lost any more ground, but it looked like he was really charging when we last saw him on camera. But Bollinger absolutely putting the coal to it, trying to break away from the #1 FMF KTM of Caleb Russell.
Yeah, here comes Thad right there, I believe.
Yep.
So it's not that big of a gap.
Nope,
Still in sight. So
about the same as it was when we last saw, but it really looked like Thad was charging. You know Thad wants to get to that rear wheel as soon as possible. Now our fourth place rider is the 514 year-round winner just 7 days ago in Florida, Stu Baylor in fourth there, and he has shaken the heat that he did have there from, I believe it was Josh Strang who was hot on his heels when we last saw. Now a bit of a gap, and as we try to zoom in on that rider there, that is the 114 machine of Josh Strang, followed very closely by his teammate, the 127 of Jordan Ashburn. And then next, it appears to be the 410 of Andrew DeLong. So DeLong is working on Toth, and that Phoenix Racing Honda is trying to work his way towards the front. Toth there behind him. We see in the background that it looks like Ben Kelly now out onto this Aonia Pass motocross track. He has closed up physically to the 121 Ampro Yamaha of Corey Buttrick. And I believe we have an update from Rodney Tomlin in the pits on something that's going on down there.
That's right, Johnny. We made mention there a second ago. It looked like something was going on with Jesse Ansley. We saw him in the pits, not really sure what's going on, so we stopped down here to the Trail Jester pits. We got his grandpa, Tom. Tom, what's going on? I know that he was in, he was out. It looks like some problems.
Right now, what we believe is there's a piece of trash in the float bowl. When he hits a big huck hole, it goes up and gets on the main, stops the main up. That's what we think's going on right now.
Is there anything that you guys can do during this race to help him out, or is he just going to have to suffer through?
We're gonna drop the bowl nut off the bottom, and hopefully we can get it out when we do that with the minimal amount of work. Send him on his way.
All righty, sounds good. Sounds like they got a plan, some problems, but they're coming up with the game plan. We'll see if that works it out for them. We'll be keep an eye on this one, guys. What's going on the track?
All right, so there you go, folks. That is exactly what Eagle Eye DQ pointed out there. Ansley back into the pits after coming through the pits, turning around, back in there, and they were trying to work on that machine there, and now they've got a plan to further diagnose and potentially fix the problem. But that is, man, that is definitely going to be damage control mode for him. Opening up the season with the win, you know he wanted to come and do much the same again this weekend. Not saying it's out of the question because he won by a large margin in Florida. But at the same time, he is in a big hole right now that he needs to dig his way out of.
Yeah, I have all the confidence in those guys down there. They'll get it straightened out and get him right back up and going.
at the FMF PowerPoint, it is Trevor Bollinger still leading the way. Caleb Russell right behind him, hot on his heels, and these guys are hot. Look at this. Thad Duvall has now closed up that gap. He is trying to get right to the rear wheel of Caleb Russell. I'm sure he wants to get right to the front wheel of Trevor Bollinger is where he wants to be. Wants to be out front, but he definitely wants to be right with these guys. Doesn't want any gap for an opportunity for a lapper to get in the way, to miss a line that these guys have. You want to be there. You want to be right with those guys. You don't want to be even just a few seconds back like we see the 5:14 of Stu Baylor. Stu, though, you just never know when he's going to put in that big charge. There is Josh Strang, the 114 machine, followed closely again by his teammate. It looks like you're seeing double there, folks, but you're not. It is two different riders. Jordan Ashburn there in the 5th place spot, and then in 6th it is Andrew DeLong. 7th, Josh Toth on the 206 FMF KTM. We see one of our fans waving. You are on Racer TV there. We'll wait and we'll watch next. We know we should be watching for that number 1. You're not seeing double, folks. You got to look for the green versus the red. The number 1
and the blue.
And the blue. That's right. We got 3 of them out there. The number 1 FMF KTM of Ben Kelly should be the next rider we see by on screen. Very closely followed by Corey Buttrick, one of our XC1 riders, who is in. There he is, folks, right on cue. Ben Kelly leading the way in that XC2 Pro Lights class. And within the next, here we go, Trevor Bollinger coming to the finish line section. We're going to find out exactly what the lap time is, and we're going to get it very soon here. We're going to have exactly where Ben Kelly files into this overall.
Look at this. Some on Caleb.
Bollinger has pulled away from Caleb Russell. He's opened up the gap, and now Thad Duvall is right there behind Caleb. So we've got about equidistant between our top 3, about 3 to 5 seconds in between each of them. And no, that is not Stu there. That is a lapped rider. I thought we had Stu Baylor closed up the gap, but he looks still to be about 15 seconds back, give or take. We'll have to see. Rodney's working on getting us exact gaps from our live timing and scoring system.
Well, if we want to take a look at how things were looking at the beginning of this lap, and you can start assessing this as we're about 10 minutes out from the conclusion of, well, I actually take that back, 26 minutes, I guess, out now according to this now, as we've got 2 laps in. Trevor Bollinger, we had a 3.4 second lead. I didn't realize he'd finished that lap while I was down there. But Bollinger out front of Russell, as we pointed out a few moments ago, 3.4 seconds. Duvall now 4 seconds back in the number 3 position. Stu Baylor still holding steady, about 10 seconds back now. We got Duvall
in the pits there at VP Fuels Pro Row. He is stopping there at the end of lap 2. Caleb Russell and Trevor Bollinger both bypassed their pits. They did not stop for fuel. Thad Duvall did. So they are going to be on different pit sequences for the rest of the day. And Rodney, we know that makes things interesting.
It most certainly does. So that could play some huge dividends and big favors for him as the race wears on. But late in the race, if he has to take an extra pit stop, it could work against him. So we'll just have to wait and see how the mileage works out for these guys. And we got to remember, mileage will be much different this week than it was 1 week ago because of the different types of soil. And it's not actually, these guys got a lot better gas mileage this week, I think.
Absolutely. We went through that this morning with the morning race. I was trying to calculate fuel mileage, but based on a new 2019 machine and a different IMS fuel tank, we had so many variables, and the only data we had to go off of deciding whether or not Becca needed to pit for fuel was Florida. And knowing that Florida uses so much more fuel, I knew that the data in front of me was wrong for today, but at the same time, it's all you have to go by. So I actually reached out to Auntie Collin and KTM team manager and said, hey, what's your data for Clay on the new 250 with this IMS tank? And he said, we have none. We're going off Florida. So we pitted her for fuel, knowing that she probably had enough, and after the race, there was plenty left. Ben Kelly in the pits now, taking fuel. So there is that FMF KTM. Ben Kelly with that bright-colored rainbow riding gear there from Troy Lee. Can't miss him. And he is hard on the throttle and off of VP Fuels Pro Row now.
Kind of looks like the rising sun right there, doesn't he, with those color schemes? Yeah, did you notice how calm, cool, and collected he was? I mean, and that's the kind of riding, whenever you're riding like that, you know as well as anyone, at the level he is, riding like that, and you're in that kind of zone and there's no pressure on you, that's the days that turn out good. So I'm still not going to be surprised if we don't see great things out of him. He was 7th place at the end of lap number 1 as far as the overall was concerned. As we update here on lap number 2, he is now 5th place overall. So he is gradually moving it up. Now this might be a worse sign than what we see in the times that he's up front early, because we generally expect to start seeing him fall back. But right now what we're seeing is he's inching up. And if he continues to inch up, this might spell a little different story than what we've seen in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, if he's in that 5th place spot, he can't be too far off of Stu Baylor, who is in that 4th place spot.
There went second next to right there.
You're right, 0.6 of a second off.
0.6 of a second, which now think about that. If he's 0.6 of a second off, let's go to the lead, folks. Trevor Bollinger out front, working his way through lap traffic in the Monster Mile. He's opened up about a 10 bike length lead over the number 1 of Caleb Russell, and Russell doing all that he can do to try and manage that gap, and we should see the 989 Husqvarna, Bollinger's teammate there in the 3rd place spot. As the camera scrolls, we're kind of missing him off the corner. Whoa, he has lost some major time,
He
folks.
pitted.
Ah, that's right. Duval did pit. I was panicking after I just mentioned he was the only one to pit. So there is where that 10 seconds or so came from. Duval taking the opportunity to get some fuel, fill up that machine. Looked like he even took a drink bottle and making sure he's properly hydrated for this treacherous track out there today.
Taking a look at our top 20 after 2 laps of racing, completing 1 hour now into this race. Bollinger, Russell, Duval, Baylor, and Kelly. Again, just pointing out the fact that on elapsed time right now, there are 0.6 of a second that separate Ben Kelly and Stu Baylor, or there were. Now, Ben Kelly took that pit stop. That might have dropped it back a little bit, but that just goes to show you how much ground the 530 or number 1 XC2 champion is gaining on the front row. Jordan Ashburn back in 6th. Josh Strain, the freight train, is 7th aboard the 114. Josh Toth in 8th. Andrew DeLong running 9th overall now. Corey Buttrick rounds out your top 10. Then we see Evan Smith, Johnny G, the other Johnny G, Jonathan Gerard. Mike Witkowski is 13th overall. Tegan Temple is 14th. Austin Lee 15th. Ryder Lafferty in 16th. Leon Draper 17th. Jonathan Johnson is now the 18th place ride. Chris Venditti 19th. Zach Hayes rounds out your top 20. And it sounds and looks like we may have some changes in that XC2 class, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, Ben Kelly down on screen, folks. He crashes in the Monster Mile and is pinned under his bike momentarily, having a hard time picking that machine up. So valuable seconds being ticked away as he was into that top 5 overall. And I believe, based on what we saw on screen, he was close enough that he was closer to top 3 overall with that time correction, but now losing valuable seconds there, and that's going to drop him back even further in that overall, and more work left to put down for Ben Kelly if he wants to get up there and challenge for an overall podium position.
Well, it doesn't happen very often on camera like that, but it does happen, and those are the types of things that turns the tide in a race. Now, not going to say that's what it's going to be, but if you notice, he got back up, still remained calm, still remained cool and collected, so I still expect to see that he's continuing to make up ground. Like we point out so often, Johnny, these guys go down a lot more than what we realize. You know, when we watch a motocross race, we can see it. When a guy goes down, you know it. But whenever you don't see what's going on over the majority of an 11.5, 12-mile race course, you don't know what happens. And then all of a sudden you hear these stories. I was going down here. I was going down there. And you had no idea that they went down that many times. But that's just one of maybe many that happens throughout the course of a lap.
Whoa, 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 folks. Look at this. 2nd place, Jonathan Gerard, the 969 machine, but hot on his rear wheel. Look at this. Here he comes. The 347 of Evan Smith on that Husqvarna has really closed up the gap.
Actually, Johnny got around him because Evan checked in the number 2 spot. There was 3 seconds that separated when they came through the finish line. So Evan Smith has dropped some time out there, and Jonathan Gerard is actually picking up and stretching things out there, it looks like, Johnny.
Always good to have the information from scoring. Didn't know that was the case. We missed those guys as they came through the finish. But so now it's actually, we thought it was Evan Smith that was on the charge, but it's Johnny Gerard who's back on the throttle and off in search, possibly trying to run down the number 1 FMF KTM of Ben Kelly.
I have to think, though, Evan probably is in a charge mode trying to regain that position back as we pick back up with our leaders out front here.
Here is your leader, Trevor Bollinger, the 739 Rockstar Racing Husqvarna. The number 1 FMF KTM, Caleb Russell, in 2nd. And we'll wait and we'll watch and see what kind of gaps Thad Duvall can make up after being the only one of the top 3 who pitted for fuel on that lap. A risky strategy with all the lappers, but he seemed that either the fuel mileage wasn't working out or he just needed something and came in and got a splash. There he is, folks. Missing that turn, but it maybe sets him up. There we go. He went wide and jumped that ditch. Sometimes you got to go slow to go fast.
Yeah, I would say I've worked with Thad in the past, and compared to some of the other XC1 riders, he does use more fuel. I've made the mistake and let him run out, so I know why they're pitting him.
So lessons learned, huh?
Exactly.
Well, why do you think that is? Why do some riders use more fuel than others?
Thad likes to hold his throttle wide open and his clutch halfway out.
So a lot more RPMs are being built
Much
up.
more RPMs, much more drag on the engine.
There we go. Stu Baylor has that outside jump line as well. Now look at this. It's really heating up over that 4th place spot. Josh Toth very, very close to Stu Baylor, and literally on Toth's rear wheel was the 114 of Josh Strang. Here we see Andrew DeLong, the number 410 Racing Phoenix Husqvarna, or I'm sorry, Honda. We started with an H, wrong color bike. He used to ride those. Now he's on that Phoenix Racing Honda.
Well, lots of changes, you know. Just the top secret Honda deal that you were talking about. I know that was a deal that started working there last year. I was kind of privy to the situation, and of course, watching that all unfold and watching that effort that we're seeing by Honda itself on the East Coast. You know, with Johnny Campbell Racing, it was a great effort, but Johnny being on the West Coast, we had one off-road team, so Honda finally deciding that they needed a little bit more of an effort, so they picked up they picked up Phoenix Racing, moved Johnny out west, brought Phoenix Racing to the east. They've got motocross, they got supercross, arena cross, GNCC, ATV and motorcycles, and ATV motocross. So they've got a lot under that Phoenix Racing Honda tent that they've got over there, but a great shop and a great organization, and I think we're going to see some big things out of that Phoenix Racing team in the future.
Yeah, I was really excited when I saw him roll into Florida with that big rig. I was like, I kept hearing Honda, Honda, Honda. I'm like, where are they? We haven't seen a picture of a semi. We saw 4,000 pictures of the Kawasaki semi, but we never saw the Honda one. So
I think it was 5,000.
Yeah, maybe 5,000. But it's just awesome to see the growth in the sport at all levels with those guys. I mean, they're doing everything. That's cool.
Yeah, Honda offering a lot of support. If you look at contingencies like all the OEMs, we got a lot of great contingency programs out there, and good to see Honda still onboarded as well.
Evan Smith there on screen, and there was. I think we did see. No, he has gotten back around Johnny Girard now, so the battle continues. Now, we can't decide who is the hunter and who is the hunted there, but I will tell you we should see. There he is, the 525 of Tegan Temple. Mike Witkowski was still very much in the battle, and on cue, there he is. Can't miss that high-vis fly racing helmet Witkowski wears.
So that puts us back to, fifth place. So Witkowski's dropped since the finish line from 4th to 5th. Austin Lee should be checking in next with Ryder Lafferty. Now, remember, we were talking about that. There was about a 24-second gap there. Actually, it looks like Austin Lee may be picking up his pace that last time around over some of those guys. He's just under the 29-minute mark. Lafferty just over the 29-minute mark. So we'll see if that pays any dividends for him as this race wears on. We're now about an hour and 6, pushing 7 minutes into this Specialized General GNCC. Let's take a look at some of these other classes while we got a couple moments, guys. So, So I'm looking down through some of these lists. Don't mean to sound confused, but trying to keep an eye on a lot of things. We got 300 riders on this racetrack. We've got 30 of them, maybe 35 of them that are considered pro riders out there, but the rest are definitely top amateur and up-and-coming riders, and we certainly want to give them some love while we can. And let you know, the FMF XC3 125 Pro-Am class, a good one going on there. It's actually being stretched out. How about it? Cody Barnes, the number 990 out of Sterling, Illinois on his Beta, has got the lead on this one. He and Mike Witkowski, big teammates there. The 111 Jason Thomas, who got the whole shot in this class and has got a riding clinic coming up pretty soon from what I understand as well. He's running back in that number 2 position out there. 38.9 seconds, call it 39 seconds. Michael Beeler Jr. from Waterford Works, New Jersey, up to a 3rd place position is Jason Raines, the 916 in 4th. We see Logan Lowry, the 173 from Trenton, Missouri in 5th. Jake Froman from Linville, Indiana, the 862 in 6th. Chase Koval, the 318 from West Sunbury, PA in 7th. Jesse Ansley having those issues. Still not checked in for 2 laps complete yet. He was 8th. Joe Marsh in 9th. And looks like Talon Sokenson rounding out your top 10 there. All right, as we continue down here, we go next to the Let's check in with that 250A class. We got, well, in this class, I know Bryce Coster leading out of Sorrento, Florida, 1.6 seconds back. The 235 of Brody Johnson from Landrum, South Carolina, running in second. 33 Chase Hayes from Sumter, South Carolina in third. Simon Johnson in fourth from North Bennington, Vermont. Tristan Lambert, the 704 from Nelsonville, Ohio, rounds out your top 5. Then it's Ryder LeBlanc, the 42 and 6 in seventh. The 421 Tyler Braniff, 8th place, the 565 of Nick Cordana. 9th place, Devin Welch, the 311 of Revan Devin out of Coolville, Ohio. Michael DeLosa rounds out your top 10 aboard the number 70. I see the 637 there of Andrew Gross. Actually got the whole shot in this one out there a little while ago. And he is also a feature rider, one of our amateur feature riders here this week on Racer TV. Andrew, a great local rider, AA rider out at the local series, does quite well. Finishes on the box quite a bit, comes out here to the GNCC, racing this 258 class. Like I said, got a solid start today, had a good finish in Florida, if I remember correctly, and currently running in the number 11 spot. And like we said, we had a chance to catch up with Andrew Gross, as he is our amateur rider of the week.
My name's Andrew Gross. I'm from Hancock, New York. I race 250A GNCC. Racing back home is like a totally different ball game. GNCCs are, super long. They're 3 hours compared to the 2 that I'm used to at home. I race Wainoa. That's typically the series I race back home. But, I started getting better and better throughout the years, and I figured if I really want to get noticed, if I really want to make this into something, racing GNCCs is going to be the way to go. That's where all the factory riders race. So that's why I started. So it's like a completely different ball game. AA class locally is like 250A GNCC, so that's why I'm racing 250A. It's just so different. Just the style of riding from where I'm from. It's pretty rocky, rooty, whole lot of mud. Coming down here, it's so awesome to be able to ride in the sand, the clay, all the different terrains. So it's just completely different. It's something that I have to get used to over time. In one word, GNCC is it's tough. 3 hours it's a big thing. Most people are used to the 2 hour mark, and then that's it. But you're going another hour, and that's huge. A lot of people hit the brick wall at 2 hours, so your conditioning's got to be really, really good to be able to get through that third hour, real strong.
And welcome back here as we're keeping an eye on Andrew Gross. Actually, it dropped to 11th. He's back up to 10th place now as we recheck those standings now out of Hancock, New York in that 250A class. Let's check in with the Open A lights class now, and that is Levi Keller, the 103 from Bainbridge, Ohio, leading that one. The 210 Joshua Lee from Statesboro, Georgia in second. 256 Evan Earl from Blacksburg, South Carolina is third. 361 Zach Brown, not from the Zach, well maybe it is, out of Madison, Georgia in that fourth place position. And rounding out the top 5, Cope Beckert, the 521 from Zanesville, Ohio. Then in 6th, 462 Brady Meyer, 7th. The 700 Jason Lipscomb. The 58 in 8th is Zach Tussle. Harrison Helmick, the 774 in 9th. And 445 Justin Leonard rounds out your top 10. Up next, we take a look at that 200A class. Let's take a look at this. There's our leader now here at
made the pass right on camera.
Yeah, look at that. Caleb making the pass on Trevor Bollinger. We came into this section.
That's tightened it up too.
Right there, and he gets around, threads that needle, and like DQ says, there is Thad Duvall within what I would say 4 seconds easy that we saw him, and that has closed up quite a bit from the last time we saw these guys. So DQ, I have to say that it looks like maybe Thad's on the charge, and that gas stop really hasn't cost him much, I don't think.
No, and if anything, it may have invigorated him.
Right.
You get the I'm behind, I got to push feeling, and caught right back up to him, and Stu's kind of closed up a little bit too, I think.
Yeah, Stu trying to hold steady back there. This is that right there is kind of tricky. I mean, we just saw a pass being made there, so I'm sure there's time that can be made up and time that can be lost in this little windy section.
Through.
Josh Toth, like you said, coming through, and that is the one. Is that the 114? Yes, that's Josh Strang making his way through this section as well. We're at the 7.5 mile marker. Just an FYI, that puts our leaders, somewhere in the neighborhood of about what we're looking at, 9, 10, 12 minutes. We'll get the official update on that in a moment. We're an hour and 13 minutes now into this race. 9.5 minutes is when we should expect to see our leaders back in this direction as we pick back up with the 200A. There's Andrew DeLong checking in now on the 410. We'll watch for just a second more here, and then we'll go back into our amateur ranks and give you an idea here in the early part of the race. And we'll try to give you another update of our top 5 there in the closing lap to let you know how things are sorting out. But DeLong kind of by himself. It's kind of odd that what we saw in that first lap, those guys so tightly knit and so close together, now starting to separate. And oftentimes you wonder what makes them that tight, and then what is it that separates them like that?
It's got to be to do with the course, I feel like. The course here is more flowing than Florida, definitely not nearly as intense. Here comes Ben Kelly coming through now. He's fell off a little bit off the overall times, but I'm sure he still has a huge lead on XC2.
Well, it looked like he was more than a minute behind Stu Baylor. Remember, at the end of this last lap, he was 0.6 of a second on elapsed time behind Stu Baylor in that 5th place position. So just tells you that, well, Stu's picking it up. And right
he
now,
had that mistake at the Monster Mile.
Yeah, exactly, and that's part of it, too, I think. Very good point. One thing I think we could – what's going on here? Jesse's back in the
carburetor
pits.
drain.
Remember, let's keep this camera here for just a moment. We talked to his grandpa, Tom. He says they think it's a float problem in something in the bowl, some trash or something in the bowl, right?
Yep, they said it was plugging off the main jet on the G-outs and see if they can get the carburetor tilted here and get it popped loose there.
So the idea was to just take the bowl off, clean it out, or replace it, or what?
Yeah, there's a screw on the bottom, usually a 17-millimeter wrench. You can usually break it loose and pull it out, dump it, spray it out, and put it back in, and it should fix the problem as long as it's not he didn't get some bad fuel with some water in it or something, or somehow got water in his fuel. That would be the only way that it would be a reoccurring thing.
Well, watching the body language of Jesse right now and seeing it looks pretty intense, but at the same time, it looks like he's holding pretty good composure under these conditions. So I think he's realizing that it takes this moment to get him back to where he wants to be.
Right. I mean, there's some guys that be coming here screaming, throwing a fit, go out and crash their brains out because they're just too intense about it. If he stays calm and just lets them do their job, he takes back off. I mean, it's a much better situation.
This is an easy task, I'm sure, under normal circumstances. These are not normal circumstances.
This is not a normal circumstance. The bike's already filthy, so you got to worry about knocking even more dirt into it while you're doing the job. The
motor's hot, I'm sure.
Engine's hot, yep. The fuel tank's right there. It kind of blocks the carburetor with the oversized tanks. I mean, there's a lot to this that you have to get all your marks right and everything to make it in a timely manner.
As a rider and as a riding coach, what do you explain? How do you react? I mean, how do you keep yourself calm in a situation like this?
You just got to keep telling yourself it's going to be okay. They'll get it done, and I've just got to go out there, do my job, and do the best we can. I mean, there's no going
really
crazy
at
is
this
not going to
point,
help.
yeah, at this point, I mean, you can do more damage than good, more harm than good, I guess, huh?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, right now it's going to be salvage points. I mean, that's going to be the name of the game today for these guys. They've lost a lot of time due to the bike running badly. Now they're doing the repair, and like I say, the repair is probably not going to take that much time, but you're still behind the 8 ball. So just go out, ride for points, be smart, come home healthy. That's the answer.
Well, it looks like they got the bowl going back on that Trail Jesters KTM here in the FMF XC3 125 class. Jesse Ansley still looking anxious to get back on that machine, but at the same time keeping himself bridled back just a little bit. Trying to hydrate. There goes that's a good idea. Go ahead and top
go ahead
the
and
machine
fuel.
full.
Yeah, you're in the pits. Might as well do it. Put the cap back on there, and be ready to fire up here any second, and he'll be back out on his way.
Well, you can see things are starting to be a little more urgent there as they're closer to completing that actual repair, and Jesse Ansley is closer to getting back into this battle. The 100% goggles are on for that true clear vision, and now we wait for the bike to come off the stand, and this will be interesting to see what kind of fury he takes off out of these pits.
Yeah, we'll get to come and go right by here on Pro Row, and we'll get to see how he takes off exactly.
Out near the at the Monster Mile now, as we're checking in with our leaders. This is, I think, the 3.5 mile mark. Last report we had is Trevor Bollinger dropping back a couple of seconds now behind I want to say Trevor Russell, but that's his little brother, Caleb Russell. Trevor's working here on the crew now, but Caleb Russell leading this one now, and that, again, puts Trevor Bollinger into the number 2 spot. And then in third place, still Thad Duvall, Interestingly, closing up that gap. It'll be interesting, I think, the next time we see him, I think, to see just how close Thad may be to those front 2 runners at that point.
There's Caleb right there, coming onto the moto track.
So that looks a little larger than 2 seconds. Let's see. He's looking behind him. Now, there
he is.
Yeah, he's pretty close. But you saw Caleb looking back there just to see where Thad was. Not saying that he's not concerned about Trevor by no stretch of the imagination, but he also knows there's other enemies out there
Thad's
lurking.
right there on Trevor, too.
Yeah, so and that's what we were kind of expecting to see out of these guys as they roll through here. Let's see. We're getting closer to this conclusion. We said a few moments ago it was 9 minutes, so we should be loads closer than that now as we check in at the overall. 3 minutes and 45 seconds is what we're getting. So we'll get to some more of these amateur riders here in just a few moments. Jesse Ansley back on track now as we see him going on TV, and now right in front of the Racer TV studio. And well, no.
I would say we didn't look out of control.
No, not at all. It didn't seem. I mean, he seemed to be controlled. He seemed to be a man on a mission, man with a purpose, and not one that is going to afford him a lot of costly mistakes. It didn't look like. So we'll be interesting to find out. Obviously, I think they had a pretty good idea what the situation was. If there was any other problems. But DQ, you were watching there. I mean, that was like you say, it was a pretty simple change out. Did they just change the screw on the bottom, or did they take the whole bowl off? And
just the screw on the bottom. Normally, it falls down into that screw in the bottom. So taking it out, you pretty much always get the carburetor clean by pulling that out.
Now, when you do that, do you see what the problem is, or do you just let it splash and don't even really?
It sits down on the bottom until you dump it. It's there. You can always tech it.
Shake it off. That's the pit board that they've got for Jesse Ansley, and he seems to be doing that. That might have been what he was staring at when he was sitting there in the pits, honestly, because he did seem to be pretty calm, cool, and collected, and he did take off under what I considered very controlled circumstances under the situation. So whoever's giving him his intel is doing a good job of it, and I think Jesse's looking at the big picture too. He knows this is just round 2 of 13, and hey, you know, you can lose a lot more than you can gain if you go out there and go wild.
Oh, most definitely. I think he's right on his way. I think he can probably pull off a top 6-7 position finish, I would say, if he stays consistent the rest of the race. And while it's not what he wanted, it will definitely be better than the other outcome.
Oh, yeah. I mean, scoring no points for the day would certainly not bode well in trying to win that championship. And as we take a look at that FMF XC3 class again, Cody Barnes, those guys are doing about 10 minutes, and Jason Thomas, lap times, looks like that Barnes was about 32 seconds faster than Jason Thomas, and wow, than anyone else in that class. What's going on? Caleb Russell now at the FMF PowerPoint. This is the 11-mile marker, which means we inch closer to that finish line, DQ. There's your second and third place riders making their way through also. Still Bollinger and
Thad, yeah.
Duvall, yeah. From lap traffic, too. So those guys.
Yeah. Where's Stu?
I don't know, but those guys had to work their way through, and that might be. You would think that would have been something that would have been an advantage for Stu, because he would have maybe been able to catch up to those guys, but they might have hit him in a section where they were able to get by pretty quick and not cause any problems. So we'll just continue to wait. But Stu, yeah, he seems to have dropped way back.
Yeah, way back.
Unless we missed him in that group of riders. There was a bunch of them, but I don't think so.
There he is right there.
Wow, so Stu. Now, talking with him, doing suspension testing earlier this week, he said he felt great after Florida. You know, he had that knee injury coming into Florida, and he talked about it on the podium post-race, but he said it didn't even affect him all week. And midweek they were doing some suspension testing, said he dabbed his foot, and that was it. He said he literally went back to the his suspension specialist and said, I'm done. I'm not riding anymore. I can't ride anymore. So he's been nursing that for the last couple of days. He said it felt okay. He said, this is another thing. He said normally whenever he does something like that and his knee swells up, it stays swollen for days, maybe even a week or two at a time. He said the saving grace in this one was it swelled up really bad the day that he did it, but when he woke up the next morning, all the swelling was gone. So that was one thing that he was looking at for a positive impact on that. And at the finish line, Caleb Russell making his way in. And it looks like Trevor Bollinger right there in that number 2 spot as they roll through. This is lap 3 complete now here at the Specialized General GNCC. Caleb Russell now leading Trevor Bollinger and Thad Duvall 2 seconds flat back behind. Trevor Bollinger puts him 3.2 seconds behind Caleb Russell, and that's nothing out of the ordinary when we see those guys on the trail actually racing against one another without someone in between them. So we're right about where we need to be here as we approach the halfway point. An hour and 23, working on 24 minutes into this. It's going to be a near 3-hour race. I would almost have to seem to think that we may come just a little short of the 3 hours itself, but hopefully they don't. This don't go long on them.
I was going to say, yeah, they go long. It would be. Well, it might put Thad in a good position with the extra pit stop, but everybody else it would maybe hurt.
Yeah, you're right. It would certainly make for some waves, I think, around there, down there in the Rockstar Energy pits. Looks like one of their amateur riders making a pit stop, I believe.
No, that was Bollinger.
Oh, was that Bollinger?
Yeah. Caleb went by, and then Bollinger took off.
Wow, there. See, that's it. These new looks for these guys, man. He got a haircut, got a new helmet, got a new
bike, new gear.
Yeah. Yeah, so Bollinger in and out of the pits. What about Thad? We know that see, there it is.
He probably put Thad in the lead.
That probably most certainly did. So that pit stop, that strategy paid off. And you remember the question you asked, is it strategy? Well, if it wasn't, it sure worked out well for him. All right, so we're going to be watching, and we assume and would believe that, Thad Duvall would be our leader now after being only 3 seconds behind when they came into the pro pit section, both Bollinger and Russell making pit stops there at the halfway point. There's the 206 making his pit stop as well, Josh Toth. He is currently running in a top 5 position in 5th place. He's back out and rolling pretty hard, it looks like. Now down to the Monster Mile as we roll this way. This is going to be the one, this is where we'll see that shot to see whether or not Thad was able to get in the lead, and if so, if he was able to hang on to it. I almost have to think if Thad reaches that position, he's going to be tough to track down because at that point, I almost have to think adrenaline and just that excitement of all the hard work he's been putting in will probably start to pay off, and we'll start to see the speed unleashed.
Oh, definitely. I agree with that. The other thing is since he already made the one pit stop, they have enough data on the Georgia dirt here to where they'll know if they can go 3 laps this next time. So he may have to pit next lap. He may be able to keep going.
And I want you to explain that for the listeners at home and here around the racetrack. How would they collect that data? I know, but I think it's interesting how they go about it.
So really you just measure your fuel going in. So you know exactly how much you put in the tank. You know the capacity of the tank. So they do the 2 laps, and they fill the dry brake receiver, or the dump can, I guess, to a certain amount, whether it be 9 liters, 12 liters, a gallon and a half, whatever measurement you want to use, and then they measure it going into the bike. And then at that point you can go, okay, he's using, say, a gallon and a half an hour, or a gallon and a half in 12 and a half miles. There's multiple ways of doing it, but...
So they have a fairly accurate account of it from the early part of this race alone by fueling a little bit early.
Correct.
Wow. So maybe that was kind of a dual strategy pit stop. Maybe they were trying to collect data and maybe put him in the position that we're in.
I would say another point, Thad's on a 350, whereas Bollinger's on the 450, so their fuel mileage is going to be completely different also.
Which gets the better mileage, the 450 or the 350?
Depends on the track.
We got the leaders back here at the Monster Mile, and there is Thad Duvall out front. There's Caleb Russell in second. There's Trevor Bollinger back in the number 3 spot. And just as we anticipated as they should come out of the pits under the circumstances, that is exactly what we are witnessing. Thing is, Thad, he got the lead, but the one thing he wasn't able to do because everybody's so close together there, he wasn't able to stretch things out a whole lot. But the big part of winning this race has already been taken care of, and that's getting into that lead position. Now he's got to hang on to it.
Yes, Johnny Gerard in the pits. See how the measurements on that dump can there? That's how they're calculating the fuel mileage. That's all done by liters.
So you measure the fuel going in, measure what's taken out, and you know what's in the bike going into it as well, so you know exactly. That's a great way to do it. So if you're kind of new to the game, new to the sport, that's how fuel mileage is calculated on the fly, and that's how we know, and that's how at least the Husqvarna guys know how far Thad Duvall could go on his next tank of gas.
Also, another point, though, it seems like riders always use more fuel towards the end of the race. No real reason why that I know of, other than they're just riding more intensely. But they use, believe it or not, use more fuel towards the end of the race.
Interesting fact, that is for sure. One has to wonder, like you say, obviously they're picking it up in that last couple lap push once that 2-lap board comes out. But would track conditions have anything to do with that too? Would just the simple fact that the conditions would probably be more challenging and tougher at the end of the race than they were at the beginning of the race? You think that might play?
That's definitely a strong possibility. I feel like there's a bunch of things that attribute to it,
Right.
but not one can be pointed out.
All right, it is, again, Thad Duvall out front. It is Caleb Russell in second. Our AMSOIL leaderboard a little bit backwards right now, but that will be updated in just a moment. Bollinger back in third as we check. Stu Baylor, we were talking about the time being lost. Remember how we were talking within teens of seconds there a few moments ago, 46 seconds, as we see that Stu Baylor's lap time has dropped to a 28:04, which we see Josh Toth 15 seconds back, turning a 27:58, so he was a little bit faster. So we might get to see this start to tighten up. Another rider coming up fast and might smell some blood in the water as well as the 6th-place ride, the 1:14 of Josh Strang. Strang is looking at about 8 seconds behind Toth. So if they get Stu Baylor in sight, both those riders might get the wave of confidence and energy that they may be needing, and Stu could find himself in a little bit of pressure. But here's one thing to point out, too. Maybe when Stu feels that pressure, that might be the switch to go, too.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. They could pass him up. They could want to, for the guys behind him, I would rather them want to pass Stu. That's what I would say is going to be the driving force. He won round one.
Right.
Holy cow, I'm coming up on the guy that won round one. If I can pass him, I'm the fastest guy, according to round one results.
That's a good way to look at that. It is a good, and every time you pass, obviously is a good energy boost, I think, for these riders. But like you say, you just passed round one winner, so you know you must be having things go right. The leader's back here with us, and there goes, again, still Thad Duvall, Caleb Russell, and there he is, the 739 is still back there. And, look at little mistakes.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that cost. That wasn't huge. That wasn't monumental. He didn't go down, but did you see he bounced through those trees like a pinball, and he had to end up going out wide. He lost a lot of
I would say he lost probably 3-4 seconds just in that little bobble. It's crazy how quickly those guys can get away from you.
It compounds quickly, especially the way those guys, they had a hot line coming through there, if you remember the lap before, and it looked like they hit it that time through there as well. So they gained a little bit more time on them, and whether or not that means that Trevor will begin to slow down and whether the rest of the field will be able to start closing up that gap. He does have quite a bit of breathing room back there, and at this particular point has nothing to be ashamed of. And I know he's watching that battle unfold.
That was closer this time, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. Look at that. It does, and it looks like that Stu's riding with a little more aggression than what we saw a little while ago.
That's the Florida Stu Baylor right there.
That is. It's starting to look like it. And you saw him looking behind him. Remember what I told you? Whenever
they came up, they must have lit a fire under him.
He must have sensed their
There's
presence.
Strang right there.
Yep, he must have sensed their presence back there. Someone must have told him Josh was coming. The freight train was rolling full steam ahead, because now it looks like the Stu Baylor is starting to pick things up. Sounds like we may be heading down into the pits here in just a couple of moments. I know. Okay, and so with that right now, let's take a quick break. We are an hour, 32 minutes into this race. It is Thad Duvall, Caleb Russell, Trevor Bollinger rolling through lap number 4 here at the Specialized General GNCC. We'll be back with more on Racer TV and GNCC Live right after this.
I'm Stu Baylor. You're watching GNCC Live.
born of family values and a homegrown work ethic, Cometic Gaskets seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Cometic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best. Cometic Gaskets are constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environment. Whether it's championships on the line or a day in the dirt with friends, professionals and enthusiasts depend on Cometic. Cometic Gaskets, sealing championships since 1989.
It's beautiful madness. It's tough love. It's the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat. It would seem difficult for someone to want to sign up for a task like running to 2 or 3 hours through the woods in some of the toughest conditions around. But that's what GNCC Racing is all about. Stay tuned with us. RacerTV.com with more GNCC Live. The action is just heating up, and we're just getting started. Stay with us, live action on RacerTV.com.
I'm a junior pro surfer from Maui, Hawaii. I actually tried to homeschool in 8th grade and just didn't meet my needs. I came to On Track in 9th grade, and from the beginning I really liked it.
The mission at On Track School is to make academic success completely possible for each and every student while they're out pursuing their personal goals.
Everything is just super easy with On Track. I get to take my computer on the road whenever I need to. It makes it very easy for me to get all my work done.
If you're looking for a program that provides flexibility and a program that you can take anywhere that fits your lifestyle, then On Track is for you. So come check us out at ontrackschool.com and go get it.
And we're back here at the Monster Mile, the Specialized General GNCC. Got some amateur guys coming through up here. I know we'll be passing to Rodney down in the pits momentarily for a report. But
yeah, DQ, we had Michael Hall there just a moment ago, Ben Kelly's mechanic. He's headed out to catch him at a hole out there. They're going to be coming back here in just a few moments. Sounds like they're going to be coming through the pits, so he said that he would talk with us and give us an update on what's going on there with Ben Kelly. We're also going to check in with Jesse Ansley's grandpa there just to see exactly what they were able to find out about that gas situation that they were having with the carburetor there a few moments ago that they did the work on. So just hang on. We'll get some information for you coming here pretty soon.
Yep. Thanks, Rodney, for the report down there. And when you get back with more information, let me know, and we'll transfer back over to you. Cool. We're going to be waiting on the leaders to come through at the 7.5 mile marker. That's that area with the trees where Caleb made the pass on Trevor the last lap. So meanwhile, we're going to just watch through the Monster Mile for a little bit, some of the amateur guys, see some of the different lines, because if you notice, the XC1 guys on the way in almost always all take that inside line, but there's multiple lines through this section. It's pretty crazy how those guys all can freight train through stuff, whereas the mere mortals like yourself and I, we all over the place through here. Yeah, it's a wild section. It's not like anything you'd normally ride. Like I said, it looks to be like road construction droppings. It's not a motocross track. It's not woods trails. It's just dirt piles with arrows. We got the 477 coming through. Not sure what class or who he is, but we got some footage of him, so family at home will be stoked on that for sure. See, we're coming through. let's say Caleb Russell still leading. Well, actually, Thad Duvall was leading last we saw. Then we had Caleb Russell, Trevor Bollinger running out top 3. Stu Baylor making a charge, it looked like, trying to catch up to the top 3 guys. He had dropped back a little bit, and Josh Strang was hot on his tail. I saw Ben Kelly through the Monster Mile before we cut to break. We didn't get to talk about him. We were reviewing some other things, but he looked to have quite a large lead on the XC2 class. I don't know if it was still Tegan Temple second or Evan Smith or who we had, but it looked like Ben Kelly still taking off.
DQ, you're a lifesaver, buddy. Yeah, we got down there. We had them down there, they said, the camera guy, and then they needed to run out real quick. So we'll be checking back in with them. But honestly, sounds like maybe after checking in with some folks down there, nothing more than a bent line for Jesse Ansley.
Really?
That's what it seems to be. We do want to get, like I say, a closer word and a better word from the grandpa there. But, of course, interesting point to ponder there. But, wow, I mean, they went through all that work, ends up being a bent hose.
Carb vent line. Wow.
Yeah. So, anyway, wow, what a great day. We got Thad Duvall out front, as we said, man, rolling through this Specialized General GNCC. Old habits die hard, of course, but what a great day. And, you know, coming into this one, Thad, as each and every race and every season always has some high expectations and some high hopes, and I know he was hoping to have a great, strong race here today in Georgia, and we had a chance to catch up with him before this weekend's race.
Yeah, just kind of the same mindset. I want to come in, I want to win, and I felt like we did what we needed to do this week, did the recovery time, did the work also, so just feeling refreshed. I feel ready to go. I'm really excited about this place. I really enjoy this place. Loved this place growing up. I think we were here way back in the day. I think I maybe raced here on a Mini one time, so been here for a while, and then, you know, last year I had a really good ride here and just couldn't put it together at the end, but, you know, I'm looking to bounce back tomorrow and get that win, and yeah, just yeah, Florida wasn't quite where I planned to be. Just a lot of preparation for 2 months to go out and ride around in third. So just rebound and go out for that win.
Well, Thad making things happen as we check in with wife Maggie down there. They're all waiting patiently for the next time around. I imagine pit stop may be coming in order if we're going to go every 2 laps for Thad. As you said, he's on that 350, so the gas mileage might be. But again, it all hinges on what his gas mileage
right off
like.
That first stop. We don't know, and I'm sure they do by now. So we'll be curious to see if they pit again or not.
Well, we'll be waiting with bated breath to find that out for sure. 9.5 minutes out before we should be seeing these leaders check in. A quick scan of the overall top 20 right now. Our top finishing rider that's non-XC1 or XC2 is an XC3 rider. Cody Barnes is running 18th overall. A XC1, 2, or 3 class rider, our top amateur, as we like to call it, would be our 250A class leader right now, who is currently running in the 27th place overall, the number 235 of Landrum, South Carolina's Brody Johnson right now. Appears to have just a 4-second lead right now over Chase Hayes, the 33 and 28th overall and second in class, and Bryce Coster, who's another 8 seconds back on the 7-12 and 29th place overall, third in class. So sounds like a good battle going on in that 250A class. And that's one thing to point out about this stuff, DQ. I mean, we talk a lot about the XC1, the XC2, and the XC3, but there's so many other classes out there and so many great battles that are going on.
Yeah, it's the amateur classes. Like, they don't get the coverage just because they're not the professional riders, but the battles are equally as good, if not better. I mean, there's some rivalries. There's all the same stuff that goes on in the amateur classes as it does in the pro classes. So it's definitely cool to run through the results and kind of see who's where and who's making a run.
There's Ben Kelly now as he makes his way around. Again, looks like he's back on rails out there and seems to be flowing pretty smoothly. I know it seemed like he lost that little bit of time there at the beginning of this lap, but he seems to be back up on pace right now.
Yeah, he's charging hard, and just in front of him was Jordan Ashburn and Andrew DeLong as well. So those guys, he's actually got them just about physically in sight, and those are going to be some carrots for him to kind of dangle out there and push his pace that much harder to try and push himself back up into potentially an overall top 5 position. Again, we saw him running inside the top. Well, he was 7th at the end of lap 1, and then all the way up to 5th at the end of lap 2 on a charge, and then at the end of lap 3, again, back to that 7th place spot. So it's kind of been a seesaw day for Kelly. And we will have to wait a little bit here to see the next couple of riders in our XC2 Pro Lights class. Last we had known there was several riders that were very near the top 3 there. We had obviously Mike Wachowski, Jonathan Gerard, Tegan Temple, and I'm missing one, DQ. Who am I missing?
Mike Wachowski?
Mike Wachowski, Tegan Temple, Evan Smith is the one I'm
yep.
missing.
Evan
Evan Smith was the other guy that is in that battle. So we've actually got 4 riders battling over that second place position, all separated by gaps of just seconds.
Well, while we wait and watch here in this section, let's check in with some more of these classes. We didn't get them all after you left, Johnny, because we had a few things going on. But Larry Sylvia leading the senior A40 plus class right now. To Monticello, Georgia on the 720, the 50. Frank Messina from Campbell Hall, New York is second. John Beaver, the 136 from Gray, Tennessee, in third. Shotgun Sean Remington out of New Salem, PA, the 51 and fourth. Frank Tussle out of Scotch Plain, New Jersey, is fifth. And sixth, Josh Hackett, the 368. Seventh, Jason Cromford, the 919. Ivan Banga, the 435 and eighth. Ken Anderson, ninth aboard the 392 and 163. Gregory Richardson rounding out your top 10.
Rodney, on screen there we have the third place rider in our XC2 Pro Lights class. Second place, the 347 of Evan Smith did go through. And third place, the 525 of Tegan Temple has now stretched it out. So it appears we have lost the 969 of Jonathan Gerard, unless we missed him on screen there. Now in the fifth place spot is Mike Wachowski, the 282 machine on that factory beta. There is Corey. Oh, that was Gerard there, wasn't it? I believe that was Gerard that just snuck by there in front of Corey Buttrick on the 121 Am-Pro Yamaha.
Well, as we continue to watch this right now and look back to some more classes, Open B, Gideone Friatas out of Malden, Massachusetts, your leader on that one. The 851 of Dustin Stanley out of Ocala, Florida, in second. 222 Peyton Harden out of Stamping Ground, Kentucky, in third. Craig Oberholzer, formerly of Jackson, Ohio, now out of Alexis, North Carolina, the 511 in fourth. The 912 Drew Norris out of Blacklick, Ohio, in fifth. Then at sixth place, Justin Gibbs. Matt Sorge, he is seventh place. Brendan Boyers runs in the eighth place position. Ninth then, Joshua Webb. Jack Bryant rounds out your top 10 in the Open B class. As we look next to the 250B class and watching some of these amateurs roll through here, we got James McElvain out of Havelock, North Carolina, 366 out front. 189, Garrick Orbister out of Stockbridge, Georgia, is second. 818, Gatlin Combs from Caledonia, Michigan, is third. Landon Ray out of Newton, North Carolina, 343 in third. 894, Jared Borges out of Swansea, Massachusetts, rounds out your top 5. Then sixth is Ty Calloway. Philip Daganese is seventh. The 457 Dylan Gore is 8th. Jeffrey Snaufer is 9th. And Austin Hovatter rounds out your top 10 in the 250B class. Up next, 200B class, Tanner Collins out of Crooksville, Ohio, leading the 219 of Max Rust out of Iron Station, North Carolina. The 400 of Gino Benacchi out of West Mifflin, Pennsylvania, in third. 509 Ezra Judd from Cookeville, Tennessee, in fourth. Trent Gaither out of Olin, North Carolina, 358 in fifth. In 6th through 10th, it's Patrick Murray in 6th. Nolan Olstein in 7th. 8th place, Colby Dunn of 9th place. Then Noah Haynes and Randy Smith rounds out your top 10.
And here it is, folks, the battle for the lead on screen, that XC1 and overall battle. Thad Duvall leading the way, the 989, followed very, very closely by Caleb Russell. These guys are wheel to wheel. It's amazing to see these guys this far into this race now, 1 hour and 46 minutes, and they are not relenting one bit, just absolutely leaning on each other. Throttles to the stops, and Trevor Bollinger right there in the shadows. I missed him. I knew he was supposed to be there, but I thought we'd lost him. But again, he is still right there and really latched onto these guys. He's got the hook in. He's not going to let him get away.
No, he's on a roll today, and I'm curious to see whether or not Thad and them will pit again this lap, being they're on a different strategy. So it's going to be curious how it goes after they go through scoring here.
Yeah, so basically Thad pitted, folks, for those of you at home that were not with us. Thad Duvall pitting at the end of lap 2, and the rest of these guys all pitting on lap 3. So we believe that Thad will have to pit now at the end of lap 4 if he sticks to the same schedule. The 514 of Stu Baylor in that 4th place spot on the Sayonia Pass motocross track, and he's all alone at the moment, but last we knew, just some 14 seconds back was the 206 of Josh Toth. But I can tell you right now, folks, it looks like Baylor has opened that gap back up over the XC1 rookie of Toth.
Well, we saw a couple mistakes there last lap, Johnny, by the number 1 there of no, that was Shot. I think of Big Kelly. Sorry. I'm flashing back to last year all of a sudden. Sorry.
There is the 206 of Josh Toth. Again, was one of our contenders for that XC2 Pro Lights title last year, battling his teammate Ben Kelly, and having won that title the year before, was not able to back it up, but an excellent season for him with some great overall finishes and many wins in that XC2 Pro Lights class, just barely being edged out by Kelly. And Toth there, did we lose Toth?
No, Strang was right in front of him.
Strang was right in front of him. Miss Strang there. So the 114 machine of Josh Strang there in now that number 5 spot, followed closely by the 206 of Josh Toth in 6th. And looks like we should be seeing Jordan Ashburn not too far off there. Oh, we flash ahead to the FMF PowerPoint. We won't be seeing these guys here
11.
for a little bit, maybe just another minute or two. We're waiting on the leads up. Says due in 1 minute. Useful information there on the screen at the 11-mile marker. We'll be waiting and watching. Will be the 989 of Thad Duvall out front. Caleb Russell, has he been able to reel the lead back in? Or is Trevor Bollinger going to take the point position? These guys have been swapping the lead out almost as if they don't want it. It's like they're just giving it to each other.
And that's one thing that you don't ever notice with the cameras. When they're not on camera, you never know. They may be passing the lead back and forth 3 or 4 times a lap. You just really don't know.
Absolutely, DQ. And we've seen that so many times. As here we see the leaders, and it is Thad Duvall, now the second-place rider of Bollinger into second. Wait, no. Yes, Bollinger second and Russell third. For a moment, it looked like it might have been Bollinger in the lead.
Yeah,
those guys
tell,
wearing the same gear, everything the same. The only way you can tell is Thad Duvall wears his water pack down on his hip, and Trevor Bollinger wears his as a backpack. So that's the easiest way to pick those guys out. But if you don't see a side profile, it can be hard to tell.
It's a good point, Johnny. I didn't know how to pick them out. The difference, I was going, all right, which one's skinnier than the other one?
Well, those two have been a battle to see who can get thinner than the other the last couple years unofficially. So definitely tough to tell, but they're both out there pushing it to the limits. Caleb Russell right there. You've got 3 of the best in the business, absolutely pulling out the big guns. And, again, just twisting the throttles. You can see how ruddy it is there, and that really is a testament to just how soft this Georgia clay is.
Oh, yeah. The mulch pile here, last year seemed to be a bit more of a challenge, but there's Stu right there coming through the mulch pile. He's reeled him in a little bit, I feel like.
You know, Stu, this is the point. Rodney, you love to talk about it. The Baylor brothers in those late race charges, this may be a time where we could see it. We will find out here in probably less than a minute. They'll be checking it at the finish, and we'll find out just what that gap is. Back to Stu Baylor in 4th place. Here comes, I thought that was the leaders coming through VP Fuels Pro Row, but they should be coming through just about any moment.
Yeah, and you're right. And again, you know, I noted that this a few moments ago. Looked like we were going to see that push. Leaders making their way to the finish line now, it looks like, Johnny. And we are waiting here at the AMSOIL.
And this time it is Bollinger to the lead. He was able to make the pass. Duvall in second and Russell in third, and these guys are absolutely letting it all hang out. You can see they kind of take a quick gasp there when they cross the finish line and say, oh, man, got to do it all over again.
Ready to go again.
Yeah, just 2 hours into this race, under 2 hours into this race now. These boys have got still a long road to hoe, and doing some mathematical calculations quickly in my head right now. I don't know if we're going to have 2 or 3 laps left to go today. Was there a 2-lap board that came out?
I did not see a 2 card.
I did not see a 2-lap card, but I have a feeling this will be a 6-lap race. I think we'd go a bit long if we went to 7. It is possible, but what time-wise, what we do we have live scoring here? Is it?
Yeah,
are we updating?
Yeah.
So here comes the 5:14 of Stu Baylor. We're going to get that gap. Last lap, how far was he off of that 3rd place position just a lap ago?
A lap ago, he was 46 seconds. 46 seconds behind.
Right now, we should know what he is.
Okay, it is a confirmed 6-lap race.
That is pitting again.
Yeah, in the pits. And I lied to you, Johnny Gallagher. We are not working. It's not updating.
So we didn't get an update yet. We will find out exactly how far Stu Baylor is behind. We see his mechanic AG there with gas can in hand, ready to fill him up. Trevor Bollinger leading the way. Caleb Russell, we now know into second because Thad Duvall made a stop there on his every 2-lap pit strategy to be safe fuel-wise. And it's seeming we have confirmed it's a 6-lap race. So ultimately, that pit strategy for Thad may not end up paying off.
They got to pit next lap though.
Well, they'll have to.
If he can stay with them.
No, they pitted on 3, so they'll be done at 6. They
Sorry.
already did 3 laps.
Yeah, you're right.
So they'll only have to pit once, where Thad will have to pit twice. Stu Baylor, we know, hard on the throttle and use a little bit of extra fuel. As AG put it many years ago, the Baylors are big boys, and they are not easy on the throttle. We do not
had another fuel dump again.
Look at this. Stu Baylor's bike has shut off. Something let loose. They are trying to push start him, but this machine just cut off and will not run. You can hear it breaking up, barely running. Now he takes off, and valuable time lost in the pits.
Man, what a heartbreaker there for him. Any time gained, and we're trying to figure that out right now, but any time gained, certainly slipping away at that particular moment right there, at least some of it. But, hey, he may have gained more than what we realize as we're pulling up the live feed from off of GNCC Live and GNCCRacing.com to give you the exact same timing and scoring that our friends out there in GNCC Racing Nation watching on Racer TV have.
Okay, folks, real quick here in the VP Fuels Pro Row, Josh Strang just came in, got fuel. He had gotten around Josh Toth, as we saw. Toth gets back around because Toth on that 3-lap pit strategy where Strang was every 2. So that's where that pit strategy really comes into play. Strang had taken control of that 5th place spot. Toth goes blazing by at top speed while Strang is having to come sliding to a stop to get fuel in that Babbitt's Racing Monster Energy Kawasaki. Costly pit strategy for these guys that are on the 2-lap pit strategy.
And I don't know that it's a strategy at this point. It may just be they couldn't physically go 3 laps on their fuel tanks. Different brands and different riding styles.
Yeah, definitely is possible, you know, and you have to wonder if Husky is that concerned about Thad that they're, you know, having him stop after 2 laps and then again on 4. That must mean Bollinger's got to be really close on fuel.
I would say it's got to be close. What?
What?
Yeah, Caleb Russell on screen. They're saying he did not come through the pits, but he absolutely did. Trevor Bollinger into the Monster Mile in the lead. Caleb Russell right on his rear wheel there in that 2nd place spot. Apparently was just missed there when they were spotting riders. They were so close they blended together as one.
All right, you asked the question. You posed the question. What was Stu gaining or losing time? Well, 49.6 seconds was what he came through at the end of lap number 4. 46 seconds flat is what it was. So he did lose a little over 3 seconds and more in the pits, it looks like. But, again, like I was saying, I think toward the end of that lap he looked to be a little more aggressive. So he may have lost more time at the beginning and made some of that up there toward the end of that lap.
It always is difficult to tell, Rodney. You know, you see these guys, and sometimes it's you were talking about before with Ben Kelly, the way he kept his composure when he went down and how he looked like he was riding so calm and calculated. Sometimes when we see these guys on screen and they look like they're really charging, elbows flying everywhere, feet off the pegs, man, he's really rolling. You look at the lap time, that's just not reflected. Then you look at a guy like Ben Kelly or even Thad Duvall, and when they're on and when they're smooth, it can look like they're just out there for a Sunday cruise. And then you look at the lap time and you think, what in the world? Were these guys on a different track? Jesse Ansley back in the pits.
Heartbreak for sure. Johnny, we're going to have to get down there and maybe get a word in here and find out just exactly what's going on down there because it's been a rough day for that particular rider. Stu Baylor makes his way into the Monster Mile section, in and out of the pits, and a heartbreaking day, especially riding the wave that he had coming into this 2019 season. And, you know, not bad things going on in Florida for him either, obviously. But, wow, today certainly not the best of days at the racetrack.
No, I would say Stu looked good through the Monster Mile there. He, I'm not so sure that he didn't get doused with fuel again in the pits, so he may be charging, just mad.
Right. that would stink. And one thing, he got lucky last week, man.
I mean, most definitely. That could have been so much worse.
Yeah, you see it, you hear it, but, man, Stu was able to battle through that. Must not got him as bad as what we thought. There's the 114. Babbitt's Online, Monster Energy, Team Green Kawasaki of Josh the Freight Train Strang out there, and he seems to have this particular portion of the racetrack dialed in. He's up to that 5th place position. Josh Toth should be checking in on the 206 here in just a moment. And Andrew DeLong, actually Jordan Ashburn, and then Andrew DeLong. Looking at those riders whom I believe are about 30 or so seconds off the pace of what Toth has going on, maybe closer to 40 now as we look a little closer. But Bollinger, Duvall, Russell, 1, 2, and 3, the way they came through the finish line there a little bit ago. Just amazing how these changes take place throughout the course of this race. But these 3 have really seemed to separate themselves from the rest of the field right now. As we said, nearly 50 seconds back to the 4th place position. That gives you a little bit of comfort zone there, a little bit of breathing room. So if you're smart and you play it right, you obviously want to win, but you also got to look at the big picture.
Yeah, 13 rounds.
You got 13 rounds, and you want to be there in the points at the end of the season. So you score as strong as you can in hopes that you'll be able to make it up on another day, and/or the person ahead of you will lose it on another day in the future. So it's and Ryan Dungey, I think, proved it as well as anyone could as far as motocross and supercross goes, that consistency is what wins. Chad Wienen in the ATV motocross, another rider that does the same thing, never finishes off the podium and hard to beat for championships, that's for sure. Oh, we got a rider going down there. That's where we start to see the challenges. Was that the 209 and 30? What?
Don't believe so. Leaders through the what mile marker is this? 3.5.
All right, 3.5 mile marker. There go our
So
lead.
it looked like we had the Husky out front with Caleb on his tail.
Yeah.
I'm saying Thad still third. So
Bollinger, Russell, Duval, 1, 2, and 3. And again, waiting back to Baylor and Strang. Want to look into this XC2 club. Hey, Johnny is down in the pits with Jesse Ansley. Let's find out what's going on, Johnny. Johnny may need to turn that microphone on, John. I'm not sure what's going on, but we'll get the audio from that here in just a second. But right now we got Ben Kelly leading Evan Smith, John Gerard in that number 3 spot, Mike Witkowski in 4th, Tegan Temple in 5th, Ryder Lafferty running 6th, Liam Draper in 7th, Austin Lee in 8th, Zach Hayes 9th, Jonathan Johnson. Now, he rounds out your top 10. Now, let's talk a little bit. Liam Draper is the rider, and there's Stu Baylor making his way here at the 3.5 mile marker, still in that 50-second to minute range behind those guys right now.
Check.
All right, Johnny Gallagher now live down in BP Fuels Pro Row.
All right, sorry about that, folks. Here we go. Jesse Ansley, a week ago on top of the world, winning that XC3 Pro-Am class, out there with a great overall finish. This weekend we can see your machine being worked on during the race, crew working hard, not where you want to be, but you guys are giving it everything, trying to salvage some points today. And what's going through your mind out there trying to ride a machine and get it in here and do everything you can do to get some points?
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, but yeah, like you said, my crew's working really hard. And honestly, we've been really spoiled. We've really never had a race like this ever. So, yeah, I was in the lead. The bike bogged a little bit, and it threw me sideways. I went down, and I couldn't restart it. And luckily, Emily Rains, or I'm not sure, one of the Rains pushed me, got it started again, and then, yeah, I've just been having issues all day. So, in and out of the pits, but hey, it's points day.
So you're trying to still salvage some points in that XC3 Pro-Am class for the overall championship. Obviously, back up that championship you had last year is the goal. Again, dominating performance 7 days ago. Does this change your mindset at all? Give you a little bit more fire going forward, or just going to kind of stick to the plan?
Yeah, I mean, just stick to the plan. I know, this is just a fluke. This is definitely not our team. This is not things like that. Thing like this does not happen to us, and. Yeah, it's crazy, but you never give up. You just gotta figure out the problem. Of course, we're gonna go back and run this carb and run this bike, and until it fails again, if it doesn't. So, yeah, I just got to go out there and see if it fixes it, and if not, come back in the pits, try something else.
Well, there you go, folks. Right now, they're doing a complete carburetor swap out on this KTM 125 for that XC3. Pro Lights champion of Jesse Ansley. They're going to do everything they can to get him out there and gain some points, and we'll see what happens by the end of the day.
All right, thanks a lot, Johnny, and tough break there for Jesse Ansley. I tell you, DQ, heartbreaker, but the good thing about it is he's got a solid program. We'll just wipe this one away.
Yeah.
We'll be back in a couple weeks. It might hurt a little bit in the future, but remember, it's a 13-round series. A lot of things can happen, and
it's a 13-round series on 125s. A lot's going to happen.
A lot, exactly. My point exactly. So don't count him out for winning that championship just because one round down at this particular point. Well, I tell you, folks, we see this beautiful sunshiny day and looking out over these beautiful Georgia pines, and what a day. I look down here on Vendors Row, and as beautiful as things have been this weekend, right now I think they are just shining with that sun beating down on them. And, of course, it makes Pro Row look just so appealing. And, it always looks shiny, and it always looks so cool when you walk by and you think, wow, I wonder what's on the inside of that. I wonder what goes on in there. Well, I'll tell you what, GNCC Rigs will let you know what goes on. And this week we had a chance to catch up with our friends at Land Mills XC and, of course, Alex Teagarden's new team. And this is what's going on over there.
Hey guys, I'm Alex Teagarden. I race XC2 Pro Lights for Land Mills XC on a 2019 Husqvarna FC250. I'll show you a little bit on my bike. Everything's pretty standard on it. Howie's coming over to check it out, but everything's pretty standard on it, man. These things are amazing out of the box. So, but probably the biggest and most important thing I have on the bike is the factory connection suspension. We made a few changes from Florida to get ready for the Georgia clay and make sure this thing's going to work out pretty well for me, which I'm sure it will. We've got some youth riders that ride for the team over here, and then I'll kind of pull you over here, and I think Bryson Neal's over here like doing his hair or something. So we've got Drew Lander's bike here. It's getting charged. Hey guys, I'm Alex Teagarden. I race XC2 Pro Lights for Land Mills XC on a 2019 Husqvarna FC250. I'll show you a little bit on my bike. Everything's pretty standard on it. Howie's coming over to check it out, but everything's pretty standard on it, man. These things are amazing out of the box. So, but probably the biggest and most important thing I have on the bike is the factory connection suspension. We made a few changes from Florida to get ready for the Georgia clay and make sure this thing's going to work out pretty well for me, which I'm sure it will. We've got some youth riders that ride for the team over here, and then I'll kind of pull you over here, and I think Bryson Neal's over here like doing his hair or something. So we've got Drew Lander's bike here. It's getting charged up. Got the batteries getting ready to go so he can get an awesome start today, which I'm sure he will. And then we work on our way over here, and we'll get it to him. I think he's done doing his hair, so.
Hey, how you doing? B. Neal here. It's the ATV kind of side of things. This is the Land Mills XC tent setup and racing team. Chris Landers has done a wonderful job of setting up this pit area. Look at our checker flooring. Moose Racing stepped up, gave us nice stands for all of our dirt bikes, all of our quads. Got energy drinks on display. We was advertising Rodney Toblin earlier. We got toolboxes. He's got grills. We got nice tents. Chris Landers really stepped it up and really put on a nice professional look for us this year. And hopefully we can keep that trend and maybe others can follow suit and kind of, start a kind of like a satellite team professional look, you know what I mean? We're trying not to just have a 10 by 10 setup, and Chris has done a really good job at that. And yeah, let me take you inside and kind of check out our gear spot. This is Chris's motorhome. Inside here's where we get ready for all of our gear. Got our boots. He's got the walkie-talkie set up. Moose Racing gear set up, brand new, ready to go for the race. Bags, totes, everything ready. So yeah, Chris Landers, he's done a very good job of setting everything up and very professional pit setup. And Land Mills XCs, we're ready.
This is Land Mills XC. I'm Alex Teagarden.
And I'm Bryson Neal, and you're watching Racer TV Rigs.
An extension of what we saw at Coastal Racing. We've seen that shift over to Land Mills XC. The folks over there really doing a great job. Chris Landers, the owner of that team, and they brought in some new outside the industry sponsors, some new sponsors we haven't seen. So tip of the hat to the folks over there at Land Mills XC. They are a packaging company with obviously racing in their heart, and they're very interested in it. But nonetheless, there we go. That is our GNCC rigs, and here we are with our GNCC itself from the General. It is the Specialized General in Aonia Pass, Georgia, actually Washington, Georgia, at Aonia Pass Motocross and RV Park. And, of course, as we know, we still got Trevor Bollinger at last check out front. We still got second place Caleb Russell, Thad Duvall back in third. There is your fourth place ride about a minute back. We saw those guys coming through. That is Stu Baylor still on that 5:14, though. Can't tell if he's gaining, can't tell if he's losing, but what we will be able to tell here in a second if any of these guys are getting any closer to him as this race wears on. And like Johnny was pointing out there a few moments ago, and I pointed out a lot, the fact that these guys, both the Baylor boys, seem to really have that strength in the latter part of the race where no one else does. I mean, it's crazy. It's pure animalistic sometimes, the way that they just come to life.
Yeah, and they've
like
been that way since the youth ranks. It's
Yeah.
not something they've just learned. It's like bred into them somehow.
And you wonder, it's just inherent, I guess. You can't train yourself to be like that. You either are or you aren't, I believe.
I completely agree.
So rolling through this one right now, we continue to keep an eye on things that are going on. We talked about the top 4. Josh Strang still back in 5th. Josh Toth is 6th. Jordan Ashburn running in the number 7 spot of that XC1 class. We see just a little further back down in that one, we've got Andrew DeLong 8th, 9th Corey Buttrick. Chris Venditti rounds out your top 10. And former arena cross racer, Amsoil arena cross racer Heath Harrison running in 11th place. Interesting story about this rider. Had a some great runs at arena cross. They did away with arena cross and kind of set idle for the winter. Decided that he was going to try some off-road stuff. Got hooked up with a few guys. Kind of, just some efforts there. Go give it a try. He says he's going to hit about every round. He says some of the farther away rounds, because he's got a lot coming out of his pocket like New York and stuff like that, he may not make those, but he's making a real stab at it this year to try to get his feet wet, and we may see a lot more of Heath in the future.
That's definitely cool to see. I knew there was going to be an opening. I mean, with Arena Cross leaving, where does it put a lot of people? I mean, Babbitt's was one of them, but they found a home here at GNCC, and looks like they fit right in, so it's definitely cool. Heath's also on a Kawasaki. I don't know if he's associated with those guys.
No,
but
actually, he's not associated with those guys right now. In reality, it kind of, believe it or not, kind of backdoor Phoenix, if you want to know the truth.
Wow.
Yeah. In a sense, but nonetheless, he has the support. And I know that those guys have put a lot of support in his backyard in the past, so they want to see him excel well here. So individually, some people are stepping up and helping him.
Very cool. It's always good when guys can put together their own deals and still make a run at it.
Yeah, it most certainly is. And I hope to see Heath make some great successes and some great strides. And like you say, it could open the door and open some eyes for a few other folks to maybe come and give this kind of racing a stab.
Oh, for sure. He's
right.
Go ahead. Sorry, John.
No, go ahead.
Oh. I would say it's cool. Like, and he's running 10th, 11th. I mean, that's no slouch. That's a fast guy. You can't.
Yeah, whenever you start, especially when you've never done it before, and you come out here and you could run with them. I mean, obviously, as the race wears on, we don't expect him to be there. But at each race, I expect him to be further ahead than he was the last race.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, there couldn't be two further apart things than GNCC racing and arena cross. That just doesn't – that's just crazy.
That's for sure. Kelly leading still in this XC2 class. Smith still in the number 3 spot. He is, as we look at this, 1 minute and 40 seconds back at the end of lap number 4. John Gerard back another, what are we talking, 33 seconds in 3rd. Mike Witkowski on the beta there, just outside the top 3 again, 1.3 seconds, man. Mike Witkowski, he's either on or off, but that was last year. You know what I mean? It was like he was on, then he was off. This year, it's been pretty consistent. We saw him on early on in Florida, and then, he fell back, but he charged back at the end, and I think that's what we're witnessing today.
Yeah, he pulled the whole shot today. He's been hovering 3rd, 4th, 5th. Respectively, and right now he's sitting 4th, and I think if he hangs out there, he can definitely be ready to pounce at the end.
No doubt. You look at his lap time. Check this out. Bukowski turned a 29.01 lap time last time. That is faster than Gerard. That is faster than even Evan Smith. The only thing he has to do is make up the ground in between them and then try and get around them. It's not inconceivable, if this lap time is any indication of what these next couple of laps can be, to think that Witkowski could move into the number 2 spot. It's going to be tough to track down Ben Kelly, but if he can dial it in and pull all the way up to 2nd, that'll be an amazing ride by that Beta USA ride.
Oh, that'd be a great ride.
So we got Tegan Temple now back in the number 5 spot. As we said, about 16.5 seconds behind Witkowski. Ryder Lafferty is 6th. Liam Draper running in 7th. As those two have seemed to have their own little battle going on today. We got Austin Lee in 8th. Jonathan Johnson 9th. And Jesse Grom rounding out the top 10 as we check in with the leaders coming soon here at this.
Caleb Russell.
Yep. Wow. So a change in the lead. Russell back out front, DQ, and who's that put back?
That's Bollinger there because he's got the backpack on his back.
Yeah, and there's, I was going to say,
Thad's
where
right
is
there
Thad
too.
Duvall? There is Thad Duvall. He's right there in their shadows. A little bit of a gap, but there's not enough there to be concerned about. That's the kind of gap that I think that Thad's probably comfortable with, to be honest with you. It allows him the opportunity to see their lines. If they make a mistake, he can adjust to it. If they go down, he can get around them, and he can capitalize.
That's one thing that he said, because I know him and Caleb would be nose to tail for so long, and he'd say, Caleb would do this, and I'd be stuck behind him. And I think he's learning as time goes on that, hey, if he's in sight, I have the upper hand.
And I mean, how often have you heard motocross instructors tell folks you don't, when in a tight race like that, you don't want to follow the guy so closely in and out of those turns because, and we see it happen. One guy brake check or just stop and stutter for a minute. He may get going, but the guy behind him, the guy in second, that totally breaks his momentum.
Right, he's chalked up. And, I mean, another thing, lappers, too. I mean, Caleb's the first one to hit him. So, therefore, they're going to move for the other guys much easier because they know they're there. So that's always something to take into account as the lappers here at the end of the race, too.
Yeah, exactly, especially at this juncture in this race right now as we continue to roll along. Let's check back in with the overall here as we should be. See, this is what mile mark are we looking at right
This is
here?
on to the moto track, so the 9
That's
maybe?
what I was going to say, somewhere around the 9. Then we'll see the 11 at the FMF
There's
PowerPoint.
Stu there.
10-mile mark. Okay, 10-mile mark. It was close, guesstimation. Stu Baylor on the motor. You know, he doesn't seem to be really slowing down. I don't see the aggression that maybe we saw him riding with in Florida, but he may be thinking this big picture thing out right here, right now.
It's true. I don't know. With the points break up, I think Caleb would still take the points lead.
Yeah, Caleb would take the points lead, but what it does, it still keeps him there in striking distance. If he makes that push, makes a mistake, takes himself out, can't finish the race for whatever reason, he does himself a whole lot more harm. So he might be actually maturing a little bit and using his head out, looking at the big picture. This is just round 2, and I think that Stu's really thinking, I mean, honestly, thinking championship this year. I mean, he's had hopes of it before, but I think he's coming in with a little better plan this year than we've ever seen Stu Baylor when it comes to attacking and trying to get a championship.
I would completely agree. He's come in and he's been fast before, but you know it's not going to last. This year, I think it's going to last.
And even with the questions of the knee, I mean, it's amazing what he's able. This guy, truly an animal. That's all I can say. There's not many that are built like him, and it's probably a good thing, maybe, if you talk to his mom and dad. I don't know.
Yeah. I believe he referred to himself as a Clydesdale this week on social media.
And there's our leaders here at the FMF PowerPoint, Clydesdale. That's perfect. There is the number 1, again, coming through here in just a moment. We got a false cue on that one, but look, they're running like it. There they are. There is your leader, Caleb Russell, KR, coming through the FMF PowerPoint. Look how challenging this section's starting to get.
Yeah,
now.
it was not anywhere close to that rough. I was making the comment that how rough it was last year compared to this year, and now it's rough.
So there went Bollinger, and there is Thad Duvall now still in that. No,
no,
that was the switch.
Yeah,
I was going to say,
up.
was
Thad
there
second?
Yeah, I didn't think I seen the backpack on that second place ride. So now Thad Duvall has moved into the number 2 spot. You got to wonder, he was so far back there, and that paid the dividend that we were talking about. He's just laying back watching it happen. There goes Jesse Ansley back up. Man, talk about the heartbreaker for this day. But how about it?
Hey,
the
he's
heart
still
that
going.
He's got,
That's
he's
awesome.
got heart. It may be broken, but he's still got one. He's still going to go out and try to finish this race. My hat's off to Jesse Ansley on that Trail Jesters KTM. All right, so, wow, I'm starting to get excited now. We're getting into that final push. Things are starting to pick back up. You know, the early part of the race, we had that freight train of riders that burst through, what was it, 8th place?
First 8, like the whole first lap and a half or so. It was incredible. I haven't seen that in GNCC racing in a long time.
That was kind of old school stuff. Made me think of Fred Andrews, Rodney Smith, Steve Hatch, Mike Kurdowski, and all, Barry Hawk, and all those guys.
The whole crew. Randy Hawkins out in there, everybody.
Yeah, but, man, it didn't take long for those guys to change that scenario. And once it started changing, wow, I mean, the gaps just really started opening up, and we started witnessing those changes, riders changing position back there. But they stayed pretty steady, I think, for the last couple of laps in reality. I think some impressive rides by a lot of different folks. And this Caleb Russell makes his way in now. This will be for, lap 5, I believe, complete. So white flag is out. White flag is out. One more lap to go. There goes your second place ride. Thad Duvall in now. And Trevor Bollinger also checking in 3rd place position. Caleb seems to be growing some distance there. So I got to wonder, maybe Trevor made the mistake. Thad got around him. And that gap opened up because of that mistake that, where Thad was, he seems to still be about as far behind Caleb as he was a few moments ago.
Most definitely, Rodney. I think Thad's got the fuel in the tank to make it happen, but it's going to be a push here at the end. We're going to have to see how it goes.
So 7.3 seconds was the deficit between first and second when they came through. It actually has opened up to 5.6 seconds. So Bollinger's actually dropped off a few more seconds into that third-place position. We still wait for Stu Baylor, who was 49 seconds behind last lap, and we'll keep an eye out there on that one as we are joined in booth now by this morning's WXC star. Woo! Becca Sheets joining us out of my great state of the Buckeye State, about an hour and a half north of me up there in Round Town, Circleville. And I got to ask you, well, first and foremost, I want to say thanks to, or congratulations to you. And I want to make sure that I didn't get your sponsors this morning, but you're on a WP Motorex KTM. Is that it?
No, I am a Fly Maxxis Pro Circuit backed KTM.
We need to get that put on the papers. So,
yes.
All right. So good to know that we've got that straight. But it doesn't matter what I say. You do all the talking on the racetrack, Becca, and you did it today. Wow, what a race. Again, you got those two Australians, Mackenzie Tricker and Taylor Jones. They come out here, man, they make it hard for you, but you rose to the occasion again today.
Yeah, definitely. All three of us girls are riding really good. We're all really strong, and we had great battles today. Mackenzie took over the lead early on the first lap, and I mean, just throughout the whole 2 hours, we all kind of had our share at the lead. And last lap, I was able to make a pass and get around front, and I just kept my head down and made it smooth for the last lap. And I was happy to take the win. I was having so much fun out there racing with them. It's unreal how fast these girls are, and it's awesome.
You know, you've always been fast, but it seems like every time new talent comes in, you somehow or another find another level. You're amazing yourself, hon.
Yeah, when Casey was winning races all those years, it took me 3 years to finally chase her down and win a championship against her. And, you know, I thought the next year would be smooth because Casey was staying on the West Coast. And then Taylor came over, and she was very strong. And I'm not really mad about it. You know, these girls come in, and they're fast, and they're working hard just as hard as I am. And it's what makes us push our limits and makes us better and faster riders. And it's like, it's just amazing, the talent, how much it's grown in the last few years. The WXC class is unbelievable.
It is, and it's being that way across the board. And the women's racers, the lady, the KTM, fellow KTM flat tracker, TT racer, I can't remember her name, but wow, she is amazing. 15 wins already to her credit against the guys in professional flat track racing out there. So, hey, the level keeps rising. You keep rising with it. And you are a premier rider in the premier class in that morning race, and it's a whole lot of fun to watch it. Congratulations to you again. Thanks, Becca, for being a part of GNCC and coming here to Racer TV today.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just love GNCC racing. I love racing these courses. There's nothing that makes me happier.
Well, that's great. Big smile on her face, and rightfully so. We saw Stu Baylor has checked in. Josh Toth has checked in. That gap, as we said, 49 seconds the last lap. We kept asking, is Stu making up ground? Is he losing ground? Well, he lost some time in the pits. We couldn't tell there through the lap what he was doing. Well, he goes from a 49.6 second gap down to a minute and 24 seconds. So he has lost a little bit of time. I have to think, Johnny, maybe we're seeing a more thinking Stu Baylor today than what we have in the past. Instead of going all bonsai and trying to catch these guys, maybe he's thinking, okay, I had the points lead coming in. This is a good, strong ride to start out the season. Don't throw it away early. Let's just hang on to where we're at. Let's score what points we can and take it into North Carolina in a couple weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, he needs to manage his races and to keep himself in that championship hunt. Obviously, you know, a fourth-place finish, if that's how it pans out for him today. Obviously, he still has opportunity to move forward, you know, or backwards, depending on how the day goes. Any of these guys do, still with one lap remaining. But, you know, if he hangs on for a fourth or anywhere in the top 5 or even top 10, those are valuable points. And those are the kind of things you can't have no points days. You know, when you're racing in a series where all 13 rounds count and every point counts, you need to maximize your performances and your points on your bad days. Not saying that a fourth by any stretch is a bad day. A lot of competition out here, Rodney. But Stu looks like he is, as you said, maybe just not having the gas to go the full 3 hours at race pace today, so he's being a little bit conservative. And there we saw Jordan Ashburn in the pits there, and also, I don't know if you saw there at the end of that shot, Ben Kelly now physically up and on the back of Jordan Ashburn. He continues to work his way up through there.
Well, I'll tell you, interesting note to ponder here on this. I was watching that and looking at those lap times. We've been watching Ben, and we questioned the same thing, whether he was pushing, whether he fell back. It looked like he fell into a groove or a pace or something at that point, at one point. But Ben Kelly still holding a solid top 7 overall position. But you look at his lap times now, he's dropped to a 28.5-minute lap time. And if you look at the lap times he was running in the 27:30s in the early part of this race, even in probably closer to a 27 if we look a little deeper. He's certainly, I guess you could say, just settled in. I don't know whether it's a matter of he realized he wasn't going to make the push all the way to the front of the box, or whether he just said, hey, you know, I've had enough today. This is a little more than what I don't want to put any more out than I have to. Let's just take these first place points for the XC2. Jesse Ansley out there. That's again a heartbreaker there. But as we said, Ben Kelly doing the right thing. It seems like Stu Baylor doing the right thing right now. It seems like these guys are riding not only with brawn and physicalness, but they're also using their smarts, which that's where it starts to pay off for these guys with huge dividends whenever they not only start riding fast, but riding smart and fast at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Rodney, and we saw that even with Caleb Russell at round 1 just a week ago. He just said with 2 laps to go, he realized that Stu Baylor was on a mission to prove a point, and Caleb wasn't in the position to dig deep enough to really give Stu a big challenge. So why destroy himself when he had to go back out there just 7 days later and try to back it up with a win this weekend, or even another podium finish? And we could speculate and we could theorize all we want, but you have to wonder, as we see Caleb Russell on screen, there is the number 1, and he is now out front leading the way. And we'll wait and see what the gap is as he goes out of sight there at 25:17 as he jumped that ditch and went away. I have the tree marked in my mind. We're at 25:25, 25:27, so we're at 10 seconds, 11, 12, 13 seconds is the gap right now back to Trevor Bollinger in that second place position. So Bollinger in second. Duval, did we see Duval?
I don't think we saw Duval.
Not yet. No, he was 5 seconds. He was 5 seconds ahead of Trevor Bollinger.
Yeah, that was, unless we...
Did we miss him in front of Caleb?
It is. There was another rider right behind Bollinger. It is possible it could have been Duval. We can see we got a little bit of glitching going on the screen here. If we can get an update from the track crew, we'll let you guys know definitively. We always like to err on the side of caution and say we probably did miss him. The camera's been zooming in and out. No, there is
right
Thad
there.
Duval, and a massive gap back to that third place position. Duval, something happened and transpired out there on that course. Looks like that left handguard may even be hanging down, and he is well back. He is 1 minute and 7 seconds behind Caleb Russell at this moment.
Wow.
And Caleb had, I believe it was 13 seconds on Bollinger. So that is about 55 seconds, give or take, behind Trevor Bollinger for that second place
that
spot.
Fast, it happened in just a few short miles. I mean, it begins to question what could have taken place. What is in that section of track that could have caused so much of a problem?
There's so much on this course, and from where they're at right now at the 7-mile marker, there's quite a few fast fields. I mean, there really isn't anything per se technical in that section, but there is a lot of busy woods, something as simple as washing the front end. But you would have to imagine to lose that much time, a minute, that's not just a simple tempo over. Either something happened where he connected with another rider or went down hard enough that it took him enough time to, collect himself, collect his thoughts. And again, we don't know that he crashed. We're theorizing, we're speculating, but something set Thad Duval back over a minute.
Well, I'm sure the story will be told as this whole race unfolds. We'll find out likely at the end of 3 hours whenever we talk to Thad on the podium. But, of course, we'll find out whether or not he's going to be able to make the podium as he continues to hold on to that number 3 spot at 2 hours, 27 and a half minutes into this race, working on the 2.5-hour mark. And, of course, through this final lap of racing, Caleb Russell on the push and the move. Bollinger in the second. Can Thad Duval hang on the third? Stick around. GNCC continues right after this.
your bearings shoulder the burden whenever you tow, haul, or stomp the gas. AMSOIL delivers powerful protection for bearings and other critical components so you can drive with confidence. To demonstrate, an independent lab put AMSOIL synthetic motor oil head-to-head against a leading competitor in a 100,000-mile test. AMSOIL provided far superior wear protection and kept engine bearings looking like new. Get your truck the protection it deserves at amsoil.com/auto.
Spanning over 3 decades, one name has taken the lead for supplying the best powersport parts, accessories, and apparel to fuel your passion. One name that knows it goes beyond getting you the best prices, quickest shipping, or largest selection. One name that builds and innovates for our industry. One name that teaches, helps, and supports our fellow riders, racers, and organizations. We are Rocky Mountain ATVMC. Visit us today and experience the best in OEM and aftermarket parts, accessories, apparel, and industry-leading information. Get free shipping on orders over $75, free apparel exchanges both ways, and the best customer service. Experience one name that leads all others. Rocky Mountain ATVMC. Get ready.
Speed has its price. Fortunately, it's super affordable. The Specialized Speed into Spring Sale with up to 40% off March 15th through 31st. The faster you visit your local Specialized dealer, the faster you ride.
Nine-time GNCC champion Bill Balance is undeniably one of the greatest GNCC champions in history, amassing a total of 67 wins and 9 championships throughout his career on board his factory-backed Yamaha. And on this weekend in 2005, here at the General GNCC, Bill battled with challenger number 7 Chris Jinks and another up-and-coming great Chris Borich. Jinks led the first 2 laps of that race with the then number 3 Chris Borich in second. On lap 3, near the halfway point, Balance was able to move into the lead and hang on till the end to claim his first victory of the season and the 57th win of his career, proving once again Yamaha was the brand to beat. This week in 2011 in Yamaha history, New Zealand's Axeman Paul Whibley struck gold on the Blue Machine as he bested Josh Strang and his then teammate Thad Duvall for the win. That also marked an anniversarial win for Paul Whibley as he struck his first win ever in GNCC in 2007 right here at the Maxxis General. And that's this week in Yamaha history.
For Yamaha. Yamaha won yesterday, too, with Walker Fowler. And, of course, pretty interesting notes, getting to see the Axeman back with us last week in Florida. I was hoping to get to see him there this week, but it's good also to see Corey Buttrick back in, riding for Ricky Russell, the injured Ricky Russell. And I'm just glad to hear that Corey B got the call up, to be honest with you.
Absolutely great opportunity for him. And one other thing I wanted to point out that in that Yamaha history, Rodney, and you're the history buff, and I think you might have missed one there. Who was that on that number 5 Yamaha?
Was that you?
No, Chad Duvall.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even see
Chad Duvall, Bad Chad back in his heyday as a top XC1 ATV racer, now spinning the wrenches unofficially during the week for his son Thad, who was out there battling for an overall win. Now we know he's dropped back into that 3rd place spot. Something happened this lap that dropped him roughly a minute out of that battle for the lead. But again, a lot of racing action still left. We are on lap 6 of 6, so the white flag is out and waving the next time we see these guys. Well, not the next time we see them, but the next time we see them cross the finish line, there will be a checkered flag waving. But when you've got speed like that, you never know. A minute isn't all that much of an insurmountable gap. One thing to point out, though, if Thad did have an issue there, Stu Baylor not too far behind. He was 1 minute and 24 seconds back. So on screen there, he looked to be only about 30 seconds behind Thad. So if that issue was more than just a fall or a bobble, it could play into the fact where Stu Baylor might be up here battling with Thad for a podium position on this last lap, DQ.
Yeah, I was just watching the same thing, and I was like, as soon as I saw Thad back, I'm like, all right, where's Stu? Where's Stu? And it was within striking distance, I would definitely say.
And Josh Toth not too far behind either. So there's two guys back there that potentially, and as we look here, this looks to be, oh, nope, thought for a minute, got all excited, thought we had our leaders. All I saw was an orange fender. Good. Just
happens.
jumping the gun. It happens sometimes. Nonetheless, these guys out here absolutely wheel-to-wheel battling. We know Bollinger and Russell are just laying it down. 13 seconds was the gap last we saw. They're out at the 7-mile marker, I believe was the last time we saw these guys. And now we'll be catching them here.
This is the 7.5
Here's
here.
the 7.5.
Here they are.
Caleb Russell, we'll get him on screen as he comes into that right-hander at 34.05 was his time in that right-hander. Hopefully we'll get a shot of Bollinger in that same corner. So we are right now at 10 seconds. Still no Trevor. There he is. So at 05 to 15 seconds now. It has stretched out just a little bit. It was 13 about 2 miles ago.
And just look how much smoother Caleb was through that section right there. It's incredible how that turn is got so many roots and everything in it that it is incredible how much faster Caleb got through that.
Yeah, and that kind of is the tail of the tape here at the end of these races.
Jesse.
Every little bit that you can salvage energy-wise helps you to push just that much harder on that final lap. But again, Bollinger still absolutely within striking distance. So we were at, I believe it was 34.05 is when we had seen, is that Thad there? Nope, wasn't him.
Thad.
No Thad. So we're at 34.05. We've now been a minute.
There
he is. So he has stabilized that gap. He's about a little over a minute. It was 34.05 for Caleb. We're at 35.09, 35.12, 35.13. So just shy of a minute 10. So about a minute 8 is the gap back to Thad Duvall. Again, that right hand guard completely missing. I don't know how long that's been gone. This is the first I've noticed it, so it doesn't necessarily mean anything. But we will see exactly how far back is the 5:14 of Stu Baylor. Got all excited, thought that was him, but it is not. So it does not appear that Baylor was able to really capitalize on whatever it is that happened to Duvall, and he may still be relegated to that fourth place spot.
Could it have just been that Thad made a small mistake and Caleb and Trevor just took off?
It is possible. The lap times,
the gap to Stu seems to be about the same.
The lap times will show the tail there. But again, when we saw Stu last, Stu was much closer than this to Caleb. I think what happened is much closer to Thad. I think what happened is whatever happened to Thad and set him back, I think Stu has really kind of gone into conservation mode here. And his pace, I think we're going to see, is the one that has really slowed. There is Stu. So now he is 1 minute, right at exactly 1 minute behind Thad, give or take a couple seconds. So
I'm on the bandwagon that he's just kind of laying back right now. I mean, that just appears to be no. I mean, this is not the typical Stu Baylor, and that's good.
Yeah,
I
was going to say that's a compliment.
Yeah,
as weird as that sounds.
We were talking about this a few moments ago with you, as you said, the new, improved, the smarter, the thinking man's Stu Baylor. I think part of that too is the amount of energy that Stu put out 7 days ago in Florida. It's been theorized that even the best of the best of the best of athletes and trainers can't possibly recover in that amount of time. Oh, look at this. Now we've got a battle over that 5th place spot. Strang back up to the back of Josh Toth. Boy, those boys have been at it all day long.
Yeah, after about lap 1, I think they've been stuck together.
Well, you mentioned trainers there, and for some reason, Charlie Mullins popped in my head whenever you said trainers. He's obviously one of the better ones that we've got here in GNCC. Trains the KTM team and a few other guys, I'm sure, on the satellite teams and stuff. But did you know Charlie raced this morning in the Sportsman A class? I mean, he had a whale of a race this morning. But that was even after he raced last night. He was actually part of the inaugural EMTB GNCC brought to us by Specialized. And we had over 30 competitors in last night's competition in our first round of this AMA-sanctioned national championship, Electric Mountain Bike GNCC. We had top world talent. Nat Ross was here. He ended up finishing second in class, but it was pretty amazing stuff, to be honest with you, to watch how this all unfolded. And, of course, we caught some highlights from last night's Specialized General GNCC EMTB race.
Yesterday I was out on the course doing the pre-ride, and I really think we have a great mix of the mountain bike world and the GNCC world mixed together. I'm excited for the blend, and again, I really think this is a whole new sport where we combine sort of the best of both worlds. Another thing that we're really excited about at Specialized is just lowering the barrier of entry for anyone that's here at this event to get out there on course and race.
I didn't know what to expect whenever this all came to pass, but I'll tell you what, last night was exciting. So proud to be a part of a new era in racing and period, in GNCC racing, and I think racing in general, because this is a sport that we're just seeing tip of the iceberg of right now.
Absolutely, Rodney. You know, I think it's a wave of the future, not only for GNCC racing and e-mountain bike racing at GNCCs, but you know, e-bikes themselves are just it's such an awesome machine. It's such a great segment, fastest growing segment in cycling right now, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry every year. To have that tied in as part of GNCC, just huge opportunities for the future.
Don't be surprised to see it outgrow us, kind of like maybe the UTVs did. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and that's a good thing. I mean, if they can find their own platform, I want to keep them here, obviously, but if they outgrow and do that, that would be awesome, I think.
Well, I'll tell you what, I would love to be able to get out there and race. I did the very first one that we did at the Penton. Unfortunately, since then it was, you know, kind of a catastrophe of bad weather and all kinds of stuff that prevented me. And then yesterday I was committed 100% and was absolutely racing immediately after my race. And we ran into some issues on the last lap, myself personally in my day job, you know, as an XC1 racer, and we had some stuff we had to handle after the race, you know, to make sure that we were fully prepared for 2 weeks in Steel Creek with my race bike going back home to Ohio and Mark Notman, my mechanic, and we were dealing with all that, and by the time it was said and done, we heard you guys basically starting to introduce riders, and so if at all possible, I'm going to try and hit every one of those rounds from now forward, but Charlie Mullins, as you know, as you segued into that, we were talking about trainers, and here's a guy that, as you said, went out and absolutely just killed it in that e-mountain bike race. A world-class competitor. I mean, anybody who has any knowledge of cycling knows, you know, he's a guy that's going out to the West Coast to race the Sea Otter. I understand most of you GNCC fans listening to this, I might as well be talking about SeaWorld, but the Sea Otter is the best race, many of the best racers in the world. Charlie, a top talent in cross-country, went out there last year, and if I'm not mistaken, he got lapped. That's how good some of these guys are out there. And apologies to Charlie if you're listening, I'm wrong, but I know he himself told me he was just flabbergasted at how fast these guys are, so he's working to get up there.
He is, and he's working to race the World Championship in Canada later this summer. Nat Ross, who is here, is also he's an endurance rider. He's a former world champion and a Hall of Famer there. Of course, he's going to be trying to get a world championship. He's going to be running for that world championship. So he's here kind of utilizing, wanting to be supportive of this, try to win a championship, get some training in, and that's what Charlie's doing too. So, hey, this is growing in. We might have world-class talent right here at GNCC, world champions that we don't even know about yet. And when we come back after the summer break, it might be a whole different appeal to EMTB racing.
You know, one other thing real quick, I was talking to Charlie after that morning race, and actually right before I came in here, and is that, nope, that is Ben? Yep, Ben Kelly. Sorry, I'm colorblind, so it's difficult for me to pick out the gear. It's true, I'm not making it up. It's difficult for me when these guys wear the same gear. We got 3 number 1s out there, and KTM's all in the same gear. But Ben Kelly, the XC2 Pro Lights leader on screen and on the Aonia Pass motocross track. But Charlie Mullins, Ben Kelly's trainer, as a matter of fact, was saying after the race, I thought perhaps, actually, wait a minute, is that Yeah, it is Ben. Okay. I thought for a minute it looked like it might be Jesse Ansley. I thought I saw a two-stroke pipe there.
Ah, that is Jesse
That
Ansley.
is Jesse Ansley. I'm not the colorblind one. You guys are wrong.
It looked green to me. I'm sorry.
All right,
swear
so
it did.
Jesse Ansley out there, but
After his carburetor change.
after a carburetor change, they had the subframe off. Man, that team working hard. You got to give it to them. That's a never say die, never give up attitude right there. And those guys are absolutely giving it everything to try and get him to the finish.
Well, the word that I got, and I don't know how true this is, but the word that I got after they did all the work and stuff on the bike, it ended up being a bent
vent line.
Vent line.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
What a heartbreaker there, huh?
Yeah, it kind of speechless on that one.
Wow. Yeah. Not.
Now,
Hey, as long
just
as
a quick question. I mean, if they would have known that before they went into the work on the bowl, the bike, would it have been a quicker fix?
About 2 seconds.
Yeah.
That's what I kind of figured.
Yank a hose.
Yeah.
Yank a hose. Okay, well, man, I mean, and sometimes it can be that simple.
This is it, folks. Coming to the finish at the 11-mile marker. Caleb Russell, the #1 FMF KTM. He's got the lead. He is through the FMF power point and on his way to completing lap number 6, the final 6. The final lap, Ricky Towery with checkered flag in hand. Trevor Bollinger still within striking distance, though, folks. He's definitely going to need a little bit of help, but he is securely in that second-place spot, and the slightest little miscue from Caleb could make this thing swing the other way.
Yeah, and I believe Caleb's been passed in this little section a couple times during the race, so maybe there's something in there that messes him up, and we could have a race on our hands.
Ironically, having ridden this section of the course, there's nothing. It's literally just the backside of the pro pits and a little wood section. There's no swamps, there's no hill climbs, there's no anything, but there is a long, tight section through some pines, and if you got stuck behind some lappers and somebody had a better line, I think at this point Caleb may have enough of a gap he could afford to lose a few seconds, but nonetheless, we're watching here, and this is where we'll see him next. They'll be coming out here. You can see the fans gathering. They're ready to celebrate whoever wins this thing. They don't care. They just want to get up there and do some cheering. They want to hear some revs. They want to see those machines revved out and people spraying champagne. Thad Duvall now through the FMF PowerPoint in that third-place
Safe
spot.
third spot, I would say, yeah.
Safe third. Probably last we had seen it was a minute back to Stu Baylor. One of the next riders we see popping out here should be the #1 FMF KTM of Caleb Russell. And there he is, folks. The winner on the day, if he can make it through just these final 3 corners. Caleb Russell redeeming himself after what many thought was a disappointing performance in Florida. Caleb himself saying he was happy with it. He managed his effort level. He managed his exertion, knowing he needed to come out swinging here 7 days later. And, folks, he does just that. Slaps the #1 plate. That was a little bit of a statement right there. What do you think, JQ?
I think he's ready ready for the rest of the season. I think he probably did play it smart in Florida, now looking at it in hindsight, that he had to recover in 7 days.
Yeah,
and
so
if we look at Stu, he hasn't recovered.
So how about that? Your second-place finisher is your winner today from Florida. Your fourth-place finisher is your second-place finisher. So you got to wonder if those are the two that really held a little something back, trying to think ahead, saying, hey, I'm going to play the long game here. But Thad Duvall very much in this battle all day long, leading a lot of it, threatening for a win all day long. We know probably in about 30 seconds here we should be seeing him on screen to come across for our final podium position in that third-place spot. And I'm really curious to find out, DQ, what it was that happened to Thad on that last
interview
lap.
too, because there's got to be something to the story, and like you say, the missing handguard and everything else. I mean, he's still riding intensely, like he's fine, but
yeah, definitely don't think it was a case of Thad running out of fuel physically or anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a case of him being exhausted. Something had to have transpired outside of his control, whether it be a bike issue, an issue with a lapped rider, or a crash, whatever it may be. Something set him back on that 6th lap and took him out of a very realistic battle for the win.
Oh, most definitely.
Well, that's it, folks. Your top 3 are in. Caleb Russell with the win. 2nd place, Trevor Bollinger. And 3rd place, Thad Duvall. Top 3 in XC1 are in. Next, we should see we believe the 514 machine of Stu Baylor should be your 4th place finisher, and this may be him right here.
I believe it is.
Nope, that is a lapped rider there. So we've got a little bit to wait on Stu Baylor in that 4th place spot. And now, as we start to think about this, we do some math in our heads and we start talking points. Caleb Russell obviously will be the points leader after this event, being that
flip-flop the colors on his plate.
Exactly. So he'll be running that white plate with a red number rather than a red plate with a white number, which he ran this weekend, because that will signify our overall points leader. There is the 514 machine of Stu Baylor. So 1st in Florida, 4th here in Georgia for Stu. basically mimicking his finishes of a few years ago where he came out and won the season opener, backed it up, I believe, with a 3rd place in 2017. That is Ansley. We keep getting that is
that
not
was
Ben Kelly.
Holy cow, he
Yeah.
might be in for the overall.
Yeah, Ben Kelly not within that 1 minute gap. So we will wait and see where Ben Kelly comes across the line. There is Strang edging out Toth. Those two, they're going to stop and they're going to give each other a thumbs up and a fist bump because they have literally been glued to each other all day long. That right there, folks, shows the camaraderie of GNCC racing. 2 hours, 48 minutes out on track, and those two literally probably battled each other for 2.5 of those 2 hours and 48 minutes.
Oh, at least it was. Every time they were on screen, they were right together, one in front of the other. You just didn't know who was going to be leading, and I bet they had more fun than anybody else out there.
And after all is said and done, they're able to give each other a fist bump and congratulate each other on a job well done. So we've got some other riders coming through, some amateur riders in our A and B classes checking in. One of the next riders we should see should be the #1 KTM. We're not repeating ourselves. The #1 FMF KTM Trail Jester.
The green #1 KTM.
The green, colorblind, can't talk about it. The green #1 FMF Trail Jesters KTM of Ben Kelly, our defending XC2 champion, who is out there, has really led this one kind of uncontested in the XC2 class. We thought we might see him make a run at an overall podium. We now know that is not the case today, but last we had seen he was still solidly in a 7th place overall position. A great day for him, and at this point just trying to close it out, grab a win, and check another one off the win list.
Well, guys, down here at the finish line, we're standing with now the Specialized General GNCC winner, talking about Caleb Russell. And Caleb, heck of a race today, man. That one started out a little different than what we normally see. At the end of that first lap, we had a freight train of 8 riders running through there, man. And then after that, it was a whole different story.
Yeah, it's this track's is really good for racing the first a couple laps. Then once after that first lap, everybody kind of finds the fast line and gets dialed in, and then you break apart. But yeah, I knew it was going to be important to get a good start to position yourself up front there, and that's what we did. We were able to sneak around there on the inside and make some moves. But yeah, like I said, there's a bunch of lines that just kind of zigzagged back and forth, and it was tough to piece together, and that's why there's such close racing that first lap or two. And like I said, once we kind of settled in and got going, kind of separated the men from the boys.
Well, I'll tell you, when the men got out front, it got exciting up there. You and Trevor and Thad had some pretty good battles. We've seen you all swapping places several times throughout the race.
Yeah, like I said, it's just the nature of this track. It's a great racetrack. It allows for some intense battles and swapping back and forth. We only went back and forth, me, Trevor, and Thad a couple of times. So I've had 4 or 5 passes at this racetrack in a lap before, and there's maybe 4 or 5 passes the whole race. So it's just one of those things. It was really fun. We were all dialed, and we all had the fast line beat in and knew it really well. And we were just catching the lappers in good spots where we could make moves, and wasn't too hard to get around them.
Well, you're in a familiar place now, back in the points lead. You get to switch that number plate back around as we head to Steel Creek.
Yeah, it's nice to get that back. It's a long ways to go, but yeah, it's always nice to have it. It's one of those things. It's a long season. You gotta be consistent. You can't just be thinking you got raw speed at one race.
That's for sure. Well, we're looking forward to 2 weeks from now. Revel in this win here today, Caleb, and thanks for another great show, bro.
Yep, thank you.
That's Caleb Russell right there, taking the win here in the XC1 and the overall at the Specialized General GNCC. We'll be back with second place Thad Duvall or Trevor Bollinger and Thad Duvall, third place here in just a few moments.
All right, folks, and as we step back, we did not see it on screen. Ben Kelly checked in, did grab the win in that XC2 Pro Lights class, and 7th overall DQ. So, again, with a last lap of 28.15, a little bit off the lead group there. Caleb Russell with a 27.55, Bollinger with a 27.55, so about 20 seconds off the pace of our leaders there. But still, very much, we know going forward, Ben Kelly will continue to be a threat for those overall positions.
Most definitely. We saw him fall in the Monster Mile. I mean, I don't know if that was the beginning, kind of like what he did in Florida. He said he had a bad lap, and then they got away, and maybe that is what is happened again,
Yeah, he'll go back to the drawing board. He'll work with his team, with his support group, and his trainer, Charlie Mullins, and back down to you, Rodney, with our third place finisher, Thad Duvall.
That's right. Thanks a lot, Johnny Gallagher. And, of course, here we are with Thad Duvall. Get to answer the questions that we were asking throughout that entire lap, man. Of course, a great race, no doubt about that. Like we were talking with Caleb there a second ago, it was an odd first lap, the way you guys were so tightly knit, but things certainly changed after that first lap.
Yeah, for sure. You know, me, Trevor, and Caleb was able to break away, and I felt like I was just playing catch-up all day. I just couldn't, I don't know, couldn't get to him, and then I got in the lead, and I felt good, and I kind of controlled the race a little bit, slowed it down a little bit, let us get regrouped, and yeah, I felt super good going into the last lap. Felt like I had what to stay with Caleb and try to go for that win, and I died over here. I don't know, I hit neutral, and yeah, there was a huge pole, and I hit it, and it was just pure pandemonium. So laid there for a couple seconds, and yeah, I'm just glad to be on the podium after that. I don't know what happened. It was super weird, and yeah, it was a really bad crash. My whole bike was twisted up the last lap, and yeah, just you know, third, disappointed, but after that crash, super stoked to be on the podium.
Wow, sounds like it. I know we heard reports that someone had hit a pole, and that was you. So, wow, that's pretty impressive that you were able to get back up, remount the machine, and stay where you are. So, obviously, taking some valuable championship points home away from this one and looking forward to North Carolina.
Yeah, that could have been really bad. I was impressed with myself even getting up. The wind was knocked out of me, and yeah, got some valuable points, and it's a long season. Just keep chugging along, go home, and start to work. You know, I'm excited to get home up north and start riding some dirt and really start putting in the time.
North Carolina, that place is either good to you or it's bad to you, man. And I know, I'm sure you're probably excited going in.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I was able to get the win there last year, and I really enjoy that place, even though it's been super bad to me. And I just like how rough it gets. So, yeah, today was fun, and yeah, 2 weeks, we'll be back.
Good luck to you, man. Thanks.
Thanks.
That's Thad Duvall right there, of course, taking third place honors away today, and he's happy to do that after what happened on that last lap.
Well, that definitely puts things in perspective for us. We knew we saw Thad lose a whole gob of time there, over a minute, and we knew it couldn't have been just a simple tip over or a stall. So obviously Thad, fortunate to be able to get back up, come back, battle his way, continue to keep that hold on to that podium position in third. Valuable points towards the championship we know he's chasing. We're going to give a quick rundown of the top 10 here while we wait for Trevor Bollinger, our second place finisher, and also Ben Kelly, who is in the class winner of that XC2 Pro Lights class. So Caleb Russell with the overall win, Trevor Bollinger second, Thad Duvall third, Stu Baylor fourth, Josh Strang edging out Josh Toth for that fifth place spot, Toth sixth, Ben Kelly seventh place overall, and our XC2 Pro Lights winner. Jordan Ashburn on that Babbitt's Kawasaki in the number 8 spot overall, 7th in XC1. Andrew DeLong improving his position 1 from last weekend, 9th overall and 8th in XC1 Pro. And then top 10 overall today for Evan Smith. He squeaked in there on the last lap at the last round, doing it again today with a 10th place overall position, 2nd place in that XC2 Pro Lights class, edging out Johnny Gerard by about 33 seconds. So Gerard will round out the podium in XC2 Pro Lights, but he has fallen out of the top 10 overall, followed very closely again by Mike Witkowski. Another great ride for Witkowski on that 282 Beta.
Yeah, that's awesome. Those three right there, they had a battle all day. They switched positions around. Mikey with the whole shot, Johnny running second for a while behind Ben, and then, like I say, Evan sneaking in there and pulling it off.
And we're back with Rodney Tomlin now. It looks like he may have Ben Kelly, our XC2 Pro Lights winner.
That's right. It looks like Trevor Bollinger stepped back to the truck. Not sure what's going on there. Hopefully we'll be able to get a word in with him. But we also wanted to talk to this rider right here. Ben Kelly, another outstanding ride today. We saw that early race push, and then it seemed like after you went down in the Monster Mile, you just kind of settled into a pace and rode your own race back there.
Yeah, I kind of messed up my start. Didn't get the button right, and took a bit, but I made a few quick passes and was able to get into the lead somewhere on the first lap. And yeah, I just put in a charge and tried to gap those guys as best I could. And then, yeah, like you said, just had a dumb little crash, just feet on the pegs, just a little too much gas, and spun out around that corner, but nothing crazy. And yeah, I just rode a steady race from there on. Course was gnarly. It was fast and, you know, pretty basic out there, but you had to be on your toes because it was so rough with the chop and the roots, and yeah, it was challenging, but really enjoyed it.
Another challenge coming up in a couple of weeks in North Carolina, Ben Kelly. That one's some mountainous terrain, got some sand down on the bottom, it's got rocks, a little bit of everything. Probably maybe something that you're used to, but maybe a little harder packed even.
Yeah, Steel Creek reminds me a lot of this place, actually, just more hills. And, yeah, it feels really good to get back in the dirt, so excited to get there and try to get another win.
Well, keep up the good work, and we'll be looking forward to seeing how things go for you the rest of the season.
Thanks.
All right, folks, there you have it. Your first place finisher in that XC2 Pro Lights class, Ben Kelly, backing up last year's championship with 2 commanding wins to start the season. You know, DQ, you got to believe he really is the man in the driver's seat to back up this championship run.
Oh, for sure. He's on another level. He's kind of the Forkner of the GNCC Lights class racing.
You got to wonder, you know, it seems we spend so much time talking about Ben Kelly in the overalls, it's almost a foregone conclusion, not before the race, but once he gets these big gaps, today winning by 2 minutes and 23 seconds, you know, you got to wonder if obviously with the push behind him with Evan Smith, Johnny Gerard, Mike Witkowski, and a whole host of others back there, you know, those guys are pushing each other. Ben Kelly won by 2 minutes and 23 seconds today, but the gap was a lot bigger in Florida.
It was a lot
so
bigger
you got to wonder if those guys pushing each other, we may see some battles for that XC2 Pro Lights win, which could even further push those guys up in the overall. I'm going to call it right now. I think the XC1 boys are going to have a handful when we get up to the rougher, rockier, more hard-packed tracks. Specifically, I don't know, maybe New York, something like that.
Definitely those East Coast rounds. I'm pretty sure that Ben guy's from there. Johnny Gerard is too, though.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely. And when I say they have their hands full, not just with Ben Kelly, Johnny Gerard, Mike Witkowski, Evan Smith, a lot of these XC2 Pro Lights guys, and a lot of the guys that haven't had an opportunity to really showcase themselves yet in that XC1 Pro class are just continuing to improve. You know, Andrew DeLong improving on his performance from Florida.
I'm so impressed with Andrew DeLong.
Absolutely.
That's the biggest thing that I've noticed of everyone this season is Andrew DeLong. It's like, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
I mean, he struggled last year. He struggled the last 4 years.
Absolutely. Andrew DeLong was a force to be reckoned with back in that XC2 class, but ever since moving to XC1, it's been injuries and disappointments, and, you know, he was down on himself, you could tell. But these last 2 races, you know, people don't really understand just how fast you have to ride a dirt bike to finish in the top 10 overall at a GNCC, and I can assure you, it is no easy feat. It is something less than 0.0000001% of the population would ever be capable of. So hats off to Andrew DeLong fighting back. New daughter at home, new inspiration perhaps for him.
That's definitely true, too.
New team with that Phoenix Honda team, and he's killing it out there. Two top 10s to start off the season, and I only expect to see him get stronger as the season goes on.
I can't wait to see about, like you say, when you go to the East Coast.
Well, I thought he was MIA there for a little bit, guys, but he comes back into action. We're talking about Trevor Bollinger, our second-place finisher here today. Well of a job today, Trevor.
Yeah, I'm pretty bummed with it, actually. I feel like I had all the pieces there to you know, fight for a win there the last lap, and you know, I honestly made like 2 mistakes the whole race, and one of them was on the last lap, and it just allowed Caleb to get that much further or out of sight. You know, I couldn't see him, so it was really hard to try to close that gap up. But it's one of those days, and you know, I felt good, and I was there all day, and I told you this morning that was my goal. So yeah, I'm happy with it, and just want to build from here, and hopefully we can fight for a win at Steel Creek.
I'll tell you, we've seen you get some experience late in the season last year, but today, probably some of the best experience you've gotten as an XC1 rider, I would think.
Yeah, I feel great. My whole new team, Rockstar Energy Husqvarna, has been great, and you know, I think that's really took me to the next level. You know, I was almost there last year, but you know, with them guys helping me out, and the bike's amazing, and I think it really pushed me to the next level.
Well, you're getting ready to head home in a couple of weeks, man. That's got to be feeling pretty good for you as well. That's actually where Trevor Bollinger appeared on the map. You think that might be a great place for you this year?
I hope so. You know, I thought that last year, and these guys beat me by like 6 minutes, and I got third. So, you know, hopefully we can close that gap down and be there fighting for the win like we were today.
Well, I'll tell you what, a lot closer this year than you were last year. It could be on the horizon, man. Good luck to you, all right?
I appreciate it.
All right, that's Trevor Bollinger. He took second here today, and, of course, that wraps up our podium here on RacerTV.com and, of course, GNCC Live. Guys, I tell you, it has been an amazing thing. I've been looking around for Jesse Ansley. I haven't been able to find him. Does anybody, I want to get the word in with Jesse to find out what's going on. I can't seem to find him anywhere right now, guys. So we'll look around for him for a few more seconds, try to get him. If we can't, we'll let you know. I tell you what, we do have, bring Cody on over because we do have the winner in this class.
Yeah,
and so let's bring Cody Barnes on over here. So guys, stand by. I'll get Cody. We'll talk with him real quick, and then we'll wrap this thing up.
All right, folks. Well, they're tracking down Cody Barnes, the winner of our XC3 Pro Lights class. Cody on that factory beta put in a great ride today.
Is that Beta's first win?
I believe that would be Beta's first win in the XC3 Pro Lights class, or for that matter,
I think every class.
probably in a premier class, I would say that would be Beta's first win. We have to work our way down here looking at the overalls to see exactly where Cody came in. I don't know that Cody Barnes. Oh, yeah, there we go.
17th.
Lap 6 complete. 17th overall, so a solid finish. I think Jesse Ansley was 15th in Florida, and Cody here 17th in Georgia. So those XC3 guys are really, really on the throttle. We do not even have second place checked in yet from that XC3 Pro Lights class. So Cody, there we see him riding up there on that factory beta machine. We see his support crew. He's there with Rodney, and we're going to get a word from Cody Barnes right now.
Well, Cody, I tell you what, you had yourself a great race today. Challenges were there at one point, but at one point there was nothing there but you and free racetrack ahead to do what you wanted to with it, it looked like.
Yeah, I got off to a good start. I believe I was third behind Jesse and Jason Thomas. And we ended up passing Jesse kind of early. He ended up crashing and going down. And it was me and Jason for a little bit, and I ended up getting around him in one of the more tight technical sections. He took a different line, and I took one. And my line was better, and I just started pulling away. And, you know, my beta was handling awesome today. The track got super gnarly, and, I mean, the bike ran awesome. The suspension worked great. So it just it really helped me on the tight technical and rutted track, and you know I'm pumped. Put in a lot of work on this off season and had a mishap at Florida, and to come back from that and then win this, and you know it's just amazing. You know it shows me that all that hard work paid off. So definitely looking forward to the rest of the season.
I don't blame you a bit, man. That's got to give you some great incentive whenever we head into North Carolina here in a couple of weeks, huh?
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to North Carolina, everything. You know, I think this season is going to be really good, you know, with Beta behind me and everyone behind me, my parents, everyone, you know, we got a really good program, and I think hopefully it'll keep working.
And, of course, this is your first Premier Class win, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, actually, I won here last year. Yeah.
Okay, second.
yeah, but I mean, the rest of the year, you know, I struggled, and I ended up joining Beta towards the end of the year after the break, and first race back, I ended up breaking my shoulder. So the last 3 races with Beta, you know, it was kind of bittersweet. I had people that believed in me so much, but I wasn't able to give my full potential. But this winter, I worked hard with Scott Plessinger, and Mike was there, Mike Wachowski, and me and him, you know, we trained our butts off, and obviously it paid off for us.
Amazing effort. It pays off for you, man. Congratulations, and looking forward, again, to what this future holds.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, so there we go. Cody Barnes, the winner of that FMF XC3 Pro-Am class. Second place still very much being contested between Jason Thomas and Jason Rains. We'll wait and see. Doesn't look like we're going to be able to see that one close out. We got to close out the show here. But, man, what a barred murder today, DQ.
It was a great race all around. I mean, XC1 guys all 1 through 10, battling the whole first lap. Broke away a little bit, but we still had good action all day. So I can't wait for the rest of the season, and especially North Carolina here in a couple weeks.
Well, great racing conditions all weekend long. And on behalf of myself, Rodney Tomlin, David Quillen, Tim Cotter, everybody who commentated in the booth, and all of our Kerry Joe Russell, our producer, Adam Gordon, you can see everybody on screen and everybody that makes this this presentation happen. As Rodney would say, God bless you and all your vital organs, and we'll see you in 2 weeks at Steel Creek.
See you in a couple weeks.